welcome back to the Global Poker League this Tuesday evening. I'm Laura Cornelius and we are into some great Six Max action already so far this evening. We've seen two matches from the Eurasian Conference and both matches, Mr. Brian Rast of the Berlin Bears took down the 7 points and the first place prize. Combining that means 14 points for the Berlin Bears, which has made them climb from bottom place in the Eurasian Conference to that 5th place. That is what it looks like now. Rome Emperors struggling. They are just 1 point though behind the Berlin Bears, and then the Paris Aviators just 2 points in front of that. Hong Kong Stars just 1 point in front of them. So between 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th, not much separating them at all. There is all to play for tomorrow evening in the Eurasian heads-up action. This is what the Americas Conference looks like right now. Of course, we're about to see two matches from the Americas Conference. Montreal Nationals are 6 points clear of 2nd place, LA Sunset. We're going to see Olivier Busquet in action in this 6 max. First up, the Sao Paulo Mets are in 3rd place with 126. Bit of a gap there between 2nd and 3rd. We've got the New York Rounders just 3 points behind the Sao Paulo Mets, and then the San Francisco Rush 10 points behind the New York Rounders, and the Las Vegas Moneymakers are struggling to say the least. They are at the bottom of the conference with 100 points. So this evening, the Las Vegas Moneymakers are really going to have to do some work. It is desperate needs, I think we will have to say. Eric Denis should be there live from the GPL Las Vegas Arena, or not. In fact, we will be joining him a little bit later or tomorrow to talk through some stats before the heads-up action takes place in the Eurasian Conference. We're going to go to that first Americas Conference 6 max match right now. So it's over to the desk to Roland Boothby and to Jonathan Little.
Thanks, guys. I'm Roland in the booth, Boothby. This is Jonathan Little. Got 6 max Americas. 6 max Americas Conference, guys. And I hear the players are waiting, so going to go straight to the game. Going to give you the players as and when you see them on your screen. So yeah, very shortly going to the game. Las Vegas Moneymakers needing the points, needing to replicate the performance of Brian Rast in our Eurasian 6 max match. They see Xuan Lu there on your left for the Montreal Nationals, and on the right is Thiago Nishijima for the Sao Paulo Metropolitans. I'm with Jonathan Little. How are we doing, Jonathan?
Great. We saw Xuan Lu last time.
We did.
We were here last week, and she played fantastically well, and the cards did not cooperate at all. Maybe it'll be different for this time. Hopefully get their webcams back.
We saw Olivier Busquet last week in the heads-up variant, losing a rare heads-up match against Marc-Andre Ladisol. He'll be looking to regain his position at the top of the point standings. He was overtaken by Anatoly Filatov. Xuan here playing a pot against Kevin Macphee. Apologies to any Sao Paulo Mets fans if I butchered the name of Thiago Nishijima. Not the first time that name has been mispronounced on the GPL, in my defense, but looking to improve. Apologies to Walter Trecaricchi earlier on for my multiple butcheries of his name. It was an absolute massacre on the poor chap's name. Hope he can show forgiveness.
I'm glad we have you here because I cannot pronounce any of these names. I'm glad that all of this falls squarely on you.
Well, I mean, that's. I mean, if I'm the holding up the sort of beacon of light for a name pronunciation, then we know we're in bad territory.
Yeah, we're doomed. It's okay. You're not always gonna not be doomed. So a pretty tough lineup here. Starting at the top, we have Olivier Busquet, who was, I think he was 3rd in the league in points, something like that, going into this game, and he had played 2 fewer games than the players ahead of him. So we could certainly see him perhaps overtaking the point leaderboard. Jonathan Duhamel has not done too particularly well in the Global Poker League so far. 5 matches played, a whopping 7 points.
Jonathan will be looking to improve on his current form. He got swept by Fedor Holtz in his last outing on the GPL.
Well, to be fair, they put you against Fedor. What do you expect?
Yeah.
If you can get Well, if you can just survive and get to play another day, you're happy enough. And he got 0 points, which is not standard. You know, you play against fate or you lose.
Yeah. Another donut in his last outing in the six max for Jonathan. So yeah, Jonathan will be looking to certainly put some points on the board. And well, I mean, the Moneymakers need more than some. So yeah, Jonathan will be probably looking to play for a big number here.
Oh, well,
you think?
Well, we're predicting the winner. I'm picking Jonathan Duhamel. Kind of like Brian Rass last time. Jonathan Duhamel knows how to play some great poker. And the team, you got to pick the team who needs it. The Las Vegas Moneymakers need it. If we do not start picking up points ASAP, we are done. And I don't want to be done. I want to keep playing. I want to go to Las Vegas and play in the cube. I love playing in the cube.
Another player will be looking to improve on his previous six max performances is Kevin Macphee of the New York Rounders. Scored a pair of donuts in his only six max outing. Couple of coolers for Kevin.
Yeah, that's brutal.
The double donut is something GPL players are regularly looking to avoid.
Thiago could get in a bit of trouble on this hand with a pair versus a slightly better pair of Xuan Lu. Players playing, feel free to say hello. Let us know what's going on. We are happy to have your input and commentary.
We got some input from Xuan last week on the GPL, so I imagine once she realised she's on cams, she'll say hi. Xuan won't be going anywhere on facing this turn bet from Thiago. Whoa, rough river card for Xuan Lu. Continuing where she left off last week.
She's slowing down a little bit, which is kind of good for us once we don't really improve.
She thinks this is a good card. She'll be getting the bad news at some point.
It typically should be a good card because very often your opponent's not going to make the pot this big with middle pair, but here we are. And she has a tough spot right off the bat. And again, you know, she played the hand great and just found herself in another bad spot with a decently strong hand where she's gotten outdrawn.
Giving this one some thought, I imagine she'll just find the call in the end.
Well, notice she loses to a 9 and she loses to a queen.
It's really hard for me to put him on the hand here, but I really don't like this bet size. It seems like he's trying to get as much value from me as possible. But he bet so small on the turn. I'm just wondering if he made it that size because maybe he had a backdoor heart draw. So I'm just going to look him up here.
Okay, Xuan makes the call.
That would explain it. Nice catch.
Yeah, not much Xuan could do there. I mean, she could have made a big fold, but it is what it is. So she's opening up with King 2 of spades, which is a bit loose. I would probably not be opening too wide into Olivier Busquet's big blind because I know he likes to defend quite often. I do like her sizing there, making it 524 instead of something like 400. If you make it 400, you're going to get called a very, very high portion of the time. So here we have Anton with 8-7 suited on the button. He will almost certainly get to play this hand. I'm always happy when I get to see a flop with 8-7 suited. And here we see Thiago opening it up pretty wide under the gun, but this is actually a great hand to put in your pre-flop opening range.
Wow. And
well, so the reason you want to have some hands like this is so that you could conceivably represent the nuts on 8-8-7 type boards or 5-5-4 type boards. Here, he's going to get in a lot of trouble. This is a spot where a lot of amateur players go wrong in that they play way too tightly from early position. They only play good hands. And then it's obvious to their opponents that they must have, that if the board comes low cards like this or middle cards, they just can't have anything great. So the best thing they can have is aces. And of course, aces is a pretty good thing to have, but that's the absolute best they can have. Whereas whenever Thiago's opening up hands like 5-4 suited, he could just have a full house on this board, because obviously if he's raising 5-4, he could easily have 8-7. They're probably only playing the suited varieties. Many players are not opening the bad hands, but I discuss this concept a lot in my books. You want to have a good amount of board coverage, meaning that you can just have the nuts on most boards, or at least a reasonable hand.
Thiago gets away from that one pretty cheaply. In a pot where there was some really bad cards that could have come from on turn and river.
Yeah, that's a spot where maybe Anton should have played it a little bit slower, because he doesn't really care what his opponent does. because his opponent's drawing dead. And it's such a disaster whenever you let them off the hook. And right there, he let Thiago off the hook. Imagine a 6 comes on the turn, or even Thiago just decides to barrel because he's trying to make Anton fold out busted draws or even marginal overpairs. That could have been much nastier. Notice there Olivier opened the button and then just folded to the 3-bet from Thiago.
Anton Wigg is, of course, representing the San Francisco Rush, managed by Faraz Jaka, the only European on that franchise. Obviously a player that Jaka has had a huge amount of respect for, coming in on his 4th pick in the draft.
Xuan Lu's getting a lot of love in the chat.
Xuan Lu always gets a lot of love in the chat here on the GPL, guys. Don't forget to join the conversation on Twitch and on Twitter. Use the hashtag GPL. Follow us at GPL. Let us know what you think of the whole show, especially myself and Jonathan. Always welcome constructive criticism.
Notice here Xuan raises the flop with the backdoor draws. Pretty sweet play. I like this a lot because notice if Thiago does not have, well, a decently strong made hand, he's going to be in a pretty tough spot. The issue is that Xuan's not representing too many made hands, but she could certainly have various hands. The thing is that I missed the preflop action, but I imagine Thiago raised preflop from the small blind and Xuan called based on the 1350 pot size, 600 plus 600. So if that's the case, Xuan shouldn't have too many hands like 8-2 and 4-2. So she's not representing very many made hands, but if she's going to be raising with some backdoor draws like that, she also wants to be raising hands like an 8 or overpairs.
Anton Wigg going to kick things off under the gun here with the suited ace. Going to run into a few decent hands behind him. Jonathan's got a suited Broadway, and Thiago Nishijima, King Queen. May elect to 3-bet.
Generally, we just fold this to in small blind to 1 raise, but since Jonathan called, we can definitely try to set mine here from our position.
Going to probably go 5 ways this flop.
Not too many family pots in the Global Poker League, but here we have one.
Lots of interesting flop possibilities.
Wow, and they're going to stick it to Kevin Macphee again. You think he's going to get another donut?
I mean, if the spade comes here, it's going to be really hard for Kevin to get away.
Wow, that's just brutal. So
may get checked around here.
Well, Anton was the initial raiser. I'm a little surprised he didn't throw out a bet on this board, but checking's fine. Because again, notice Anton should not have too many 7s and 6s in his range, raising from under the gun, but certainly the other callers could. So Xuan now turns a straight draw. Does she try to pick up the pot? I would guess no.
I try to bluff this. Well, I could have the best hand, but I think it's a little ambitious to try to lead this into 4 other players.
I agree with that completely. Kevin Macphee may take a stab at this now because he has the gut shot and the flush draw. He can definitely make ace highs fold. He can get value from perhaps worse draws. So I think this is a fine spot to go ahead and bet. Anton
also picked up an inferior gut shot.
Yeah, the gut shot's powerful.
But no good. Would actually give Xuan Lu a full house.
Yeah, Xuan's going to fold though now, facing the bet and the call, I think. It's a tough spot. If you do get there on the river, you may still have the worst hand.
At the shitty end of the straight draw, I'm just going to fold this.
Yep, good analysis. And she is...
still have the shitty end.
She's going to be happy she got out of the way.
Hopefully one of them shows up with a much better hand.
Great fold by Xuan there. A lot of people feel like they must stick around and see if they get there with their draw, but you don't really want to be drawing to hands that are likely marginal if you do get there. And this is a great example of that because she very easily could have gotten in trouble. I don't think Anton can do much here. He just has to get out of the way.
Incredible turnaround in that pot for Kevin Macphee, who looked like he could, be in real trouble there.
Nice bet, Kevin.
Notice what happened there, though, is that Kevin won the pot, and he won 5,000 chips, which is nice. But if he was going to lose that pot, it was probably going to be for his whole stack.
Yep.
So I'm not saying he played the hand wrong or anything, but you have to be careful if you have junky flush draws. He, of course, had a good flush draw, so he was kind of... if a flush card did come in, he was just set up. But a lot of people get themselves in trouble with a hand like 10-4 of spades there, or 10-3 of spades, where they're calling with kind of junky hands, and it doesn't work out. Nice 3-bet by Thiago. If he's going to play this hand, he needs to 3-bet it. Gets Kevin off pocket 7s, he can get Anton off ace 4, and he gets Olivier off ace 6.
Nice 3-bet there by Thiago. Really nice record for Thiago Nishijima in the GPL so far. He was swept by Pascal Lefrancois in his first heads-up match. Then he's gone on to beat Jonathan Jaffy, Tom Marchese, and Justin Bonomo.
Wow.
After that. And the win against Justin Bonomo was a sweep. So yeah, really, I mean, this is the first time we've seen him in the six max, but his heads-up record is really impressive. I mean, those three guys, you know, you really got to know what you're doing to. Crackling somewhere.
Someone's apartment's falling down.
Someone's
house apartment.
Sound like it could be a flood. Or a
Notice Olivier Busquet likes to defend and now just gets out of the way. It's not a good flop. Xuan Lu trying to get in focus. She's picked up some hands this time. Remember last match, she really didn't play very many hands at all, and the one she did play, she ran pretty poorly. This time, she's getting a lot of marginally playable hands. Not great hands, but marginally playable hands. All right, let's go Las Vegas Moneymakers. Check raise are out of her seat. It's not going to work this time.
Our hand has potential now. We flopped a backdoor flush draw, a pair, and a pair.
And an overcard. And a backdoor straight draw. She has it all. Jonathan has a great hand to play aggressively if he feels like playing aggressively. I can't talk. If he feels like playing aggressively. But he does not. I mean, at some point, the Las Vegas Moneymakers have to play very aggressively to try to get some points. Otherwise, they're going to fall out of contention. I say they like I no longer want to be associated with them. But I do. Let's go Las Vegas Moneymakers.
I mean, Jonathan Little showed up in Malta just when his team needed it the most, commentating, deciding to take a backward step. But
well, to be fair, I was running into the issue of as I've already played too many games. You don't want to get capped out of the playoffs. If we make the playoffs, I need to be there. But if we don't make the playoffs, I guess I don't need to be there either way. So.
Well, I think tonight might sort of paint a sort of picture of whether that's going to be a possibility.
Thiago's probably going to put a 3-bet in with this hand, and Xuan, I guess, will get out of the way. She could 4-bet if she feels like it. Seems really risk-heavy.
Really, Thiago?
When you want to see a flop with the suited Jack-10. God.
All right.
This is interesting. So right there, Xuan could have conceivably re-raised. I don't know if we're quite to crunch time in the league standings to where you can really apply a lot of pressure to Sao Paulo yet. But they are somewhat easily in third place. Third or fourth, depending on how things go. They're still going to be third or fourth after this game. So if that's the case, they really just want to get a few points. And they want to minimize their chance of going broke. And for that reason, you can often apply pressure to those players. And on the last week, imagine, say that we know the Las Vegas Moneymakers, they need to win 2 games to win or to get in the playoffs. That's a spot where if Thiago re-raises, Xuan can then shove the flop or shove pre-flop, and then Jonathan Duhamel should be calling off with a 7 offsuit because that gives him a great shot of winning. So kind of interesting things may happen as we get further and further into this league or into the season. Here, Jonathan Duhamel finally has the best hand one time. He's played enough games. He deserves the best hand one time. It's probably a reasonable spot to go for a bit of pot control. I'm a little bit paranoid about betting these medium strength hands versus very aggressive players. And Kevin Macphee certainly counts as a very aggressive player. But Jonathan Duhamel is not afraid. He goes for value. And notice the problem with going for value there is that Kevin Macphee got off the hook with a reasonable value hand, right? So you're value betting in that spot, but you're making your opponent fold a value hand. And of course, by betting, you let your opponents, or you make your opponents fold out some hands that have equity. Like right there, the ace-9 had some equity. But I'm of the camp of, we're not necessarily trying to force hands that are drawing pretty thin to fold. And you really don't want to open yourself to get check raised off of the best hand by a very aggressive player like Kevin Macphee. Here's Kevin Macphee putting in the 3-bet. And this is not going to work out too well. Anton's going to put in the 4-bet. Kevin may get crazy. I mean, Kevin's known to be quite aggressive. And if Anton puts in the 4-bet, I could easily see Kevin deciding to do something ridiculous and shove or 5-bet minimum or something like that. but he's probably just going to fold. I always have big hopes for insane plays, but quite often that just doesn't happen. It's just going to go full fold. I do like Anton's sizing. He makes it to where Kevin McPhee has to fold, getting great pot odds. He has to put in 4,000 more to try to win what will be a 15,000 pot. So he only needs to win 27 or so % of the time. And he probably will, but he does let it go.
Those of you watching last week, remember Xuan Lu putting in a really kind of battling performance in the second of the American 6 matches. A lot on paper, her 2-point return from last week could have might seem on the sort of meager side of things, but she actually put in a very impressive performance and really clung on for those 2 points. It showed a lot of kind of good strategic thinking. And yeah, Jonathan and I are both very impressed with Xuan last week. So hopefully she can get score the points that her team deserves, or that she deserves. Her team, seem to be doing pretty well on top of the Americas conference on 153 points. Top set here for Anton Wigg. It'd be difficult for him to get value against the 2 hands that he's up against. If you could see their hands, he'd probably check.
Yeah, you definitely want to check when your opponents are drawing dead. Or essentially dead. Notice there Thiago had 4% equity, which a lot of people when they have a set, if they knew their opponents were going to win 4% of the time, they would just go all in and try to make them fold because they really hate getting outdrawn. But getting outdrawn is okay, especially if it only happens 4% of the time. Do not be paranoid about that. Here we have, 2 earl hands and Olivier Busquet with 10-9 offsuit, making a perfectly acceptable raise. Let's see if Jonathan Duhamel likes to 3-bet or just call. From the small blind, a lot of players use a strategy that's almost entirely 3-betting or folding because they don't want to call and let a great player like Thiago stick around. So, what does Thiago do? Again, if we get deeper in the league and Thiago re-raises, Duhamel could conceivably shove because that's the best way to really lock up some points and also make it to where, like say we know Thiago needs to lock up 2 points for his team. Well, he can shove here and you make it to where he can get 0 points for his team and that'd be a disaster. But right now, I don't think we're going to see that happening. You guys need to have me back in a few weeks so we can commentate the closing of the league.
Always welcome on the seat next to me, Jonathan Little.
We may see, we're going to see a very tight race in the Eurasia conference. The Americans conference, I guess we'll know this week or next week how tight it's going to be, but right now it's looking pretty depressing for the Las Vegas Moneymakers. And San Francisco's not doing amazingly well either. They are solidly in 5th place.
Yeah,
And
they're another franchise that needs a strong performance tonight to really sort of keep pace with the the teams above them. And Thiago Nishijima's 4-bet gets through there. A really nice play from Nishijima.
One thing worth mentioning is that the Americas conference did fantastically well this summer in the summer series compared to the Eurasia conference. There were inter-conference plays. And you'll look that the teams in the middle of the Las Vegas conference have 123 points. And the teams in the middle of the Eurasia conference have about 111 points. So they have a full 10-point difference, which is actually quite significant. That's like sweeping a heads-up match and a half. And every time during the summer series, the Las Vegas Moneymakers would play, they'd get 6 points, but then every other team would get 6 or 9. And so we just kept falling farther and farther behind, despite putting up reasonably good performances. So it's tough whenever, that's the way it was set up. And
now, could be seeing Jonathan Duhamel playing for stacks here if he elects to 3-bet this hand.
I would almost certainly call on the spot when it goes raise under the gun, call in second position. You're not loving it, but you have to be very cautious because Olivier may not even have a 3-betting range. Olivier may be flatting with a lot of stuff. I talked a lot of strategy recently with Olivier in this 4-hour-long webinar we discussed where we reviewed one of his Global Poker League wins, and we talked for 4 hours about various situations, and there's some spots where he discussed just not having a 3-betting range because if you do 3-bet, it's kind of obvious you have a good hand, and you don't really want to be bluffing the under-the-gun raiser with ace-jack offsuit or something like that. So if he is playing, he's often just flatting with everything, and I think we may see some action. I would certainly not fault Duhamel for hopping in And he does hop in. Let's go, Jonathan
Flip,
Duhamel.
guys. Las Vegas Moneymakers needing to connect with this board.
Come on, Griffin, give it to us. Ace on the turn. Jack on the turn.
And that's the full house locked up for Anton Wigg, guys. And Jonathan Duhamel, knowing that he really needs to win this game to put some needed points on the board for the Moneymakers. And he gets into a flip with Anton Wigg, and it's curtains for Duhamel. And the really nice stack going over towards Anton Wigg, the other team in this conference that really need the points the most.
Yeah, that is not what the Las Vegas Moneymakers wanted at all, because we're going to get 0 points, and now Anton is presumably going to get at least 2 or 3 points and separate himself from us. Actually, I guess what the Moneymakers really don't want are the Rounders or Sao Paulo winning. We want to keep them low. But us going broke first clearly doesn't get the job done. So very, very tough luck for the Las Vegas Moneymakers. Xuan Lu getting after it with the A7 offsuit, which I think is a great play. Thiago peels the flop.
Not the best flop for us, but we definitely have a backdoor flush draw potential.
Xuan will probably be successful if she elects to continue with this aggressive line. Yeah, insta-fold by Thiago. Nice 3-bet from Xuan. So Anton Wigg out in the lead early on in this first Americas 6 Max. This is game 129 of the Global Poker League. If you've missed any of the previous games, go to our mobile application, available on iOS and Android. GPL TV. All highlights, all games in their entirety, stats for all players and teams. Follow us at GPL on Twitter. Use the hashtag GPL. Also, chat along with us in the Twitch chat. I'm joined for tonight and one more night by Jonathan Little of the Las Vegas Moneymakers. 2-time WPT champion. $6 million in earnings. This guy knows about poker, guys, so if you want to ask him anything.
Yabin Dragon asks in the chat that he's saying that Xuan is playing aggressively like Brian Rast did in the previous games. Do we think that is a key to success? Well, I think if you look at a lot of these players, they're all playing a pretty aggressive strategy. None of them are playing overly tight and overly passive. And Xuan has had, in this game, a few marginal hands that were actually fine spots to be aggressive, like that A7 offsuit's a good example, where a lot of amateur players call on that spot or just fold. But that's a hand that is near the bottom of your calling range, so you don't really want to be calling with it. So if you want to play it, you typically want to play it aggressively and re-raise and apply a lot of pressure. And that's exactly what she did. And it's, well, she's up 471 chips, so you can't really say she's crushing it. But she's doing her best with it, and I think that that's the strategy you want to use. Notice there, Olivier just checking down, getting to showdown with his best hand.
Haven't seen Olivier tangling in too many pots so far.
Well, he's down a few chips right out the gate, but hanging out.
Anton.
Olivier plays a strategy just hard to take advantage of. He kind of just hangs out, wins some small pots here and there. And if you win all the small pots in the long run, you'll win the tournament eventually. All right, so
Wigg picking up the ace-king suited there, not getting the action he was looking for.
Notice Olivier has trickled down to 30 big blinds. The other players are all still a bit deeper, about 40 big blinds or more. Thiago min-raises the button. I'm not really sure that's going to be a great strategy versus someone like Kevin Macphee who likes to see the flop and splash around. I typically would prefer to make it a little bit bigger against people who are going to play well out of the big blind. And I certainly think that Kevin Macphee is going to play well from the big blind. The issue is that you have to ask, what proposition am I proposing to my opponents? When you min-raise from the button, you're basically telling the guy in the big blind, I am going to give you 3-to-1 pot odds with whatever you have versus my marginal hand most likely from the button. And pretty much whatever they have is going to have the requisite pot odds to justify calling. And so by min-raising on the button, you're basically telling that player in the big blind, I think you are so bad that you cannot profitably defend getting amazing odds versus my weak range. And you can say that to a lot of amateur players, but you can't really say that to good players. They're going to stick around intelligently and they're going to play well. So be careful. Always realize what you are saying with your bets and what you are assuming with your bets and what you're insinuating with your bets.
So Olivier getting a little bit out of line in this pot, raising the 7-8 suited under the gun.
It's fine. You got to do it. Well, we saw Thiago opening the 5-4 suited earlier.
Actually, you explained pretty well, actually, why players do this.
For board coverage. And this is just a good hand. I mean, the suited connectors are strong. They're going to flop a lot of stuff. Notice Olivier doing his almost patented now check down with the marginal made hand. He'll put in a value bet on the river if he gets the opportunity, and if Anton bets, he's just going to call. And that's that. Easy game.
Is this thin on the river from Anton with the pair of fives, or are the hands that you think he can get value from?
He can get called by ace king, ace queen, ace jack, pocket fours. There's stuff he can get called by there. And he probably assumes Olivier is going to bet at some point with his better made hands. Like a lot of people just think people continuation bet the flop with any pair, right? I mean, we all know Olivier doesn't do that if we've studied his game enough. I guess I should make this clear. I've went back and studied the games of everyone in the league who I perceive to be the best in the world. And there can only be one best in theory, but there are a bunch of players in the Global Poker League who are certainly top 10 in the world, and I went back and studied their games to the point where I kind of have an idea of how they play. Especially if they're playing more of a strategy they think is nearly game theory optimal. I think that's what Olivier does and what a lot of the other great players do.
Nice run out here for Olivier. I'm not sure if it would be enough to get paid with the 4 flush coming.
Yeah, so Olivier should definitely bet, and I would certainly not fault Kevin for calling here. Interesting sizing from Olivier. I think he should consider going bigger, but Olivier does just like standard-ish bet sizes. And notice Kevin does look him up on the 4 flush board. And a lot of amateurs look at that and say, wow, why would you ever call with top pair on a 4 flush board? But you have to realize that Olivier is only going to have a flush card in his hand about 40% of the time on average. That doesn't mean he's necessarily going to bet it. But in that spot, Olivier is often not going to bet the 6 of spades, for example, or some low spade. So when he's betting, it has to be with either a good spade or a bluff. And there should be way more bluffs in his possible range. Not that he bluffs all of them, but he has way more bluffs than non-nut hands in that spot. So now he just has to make sure he's not bluffing with too many combinations. Otherwise, it just becomes an easy call with anything. And in general, you're going to find that top pair in that spot's a somewhat standard call. Especially given that Kevin would probably bet with the ace or the good spades in his hand at some point anyway. So Olivier opening it up, and we'll probably get through on this hand. That's a hand Xuan could consider 3-betting if she felt like it. But no real reason to do that. Jack-9 offsuit's a bit loose of an open from the hijack seat. For those who are not up to date on the poker terms, we have the button, which is where Thiago is. We have the cutoff, which is where Olivier is. And we have the hijack seat, which is where Anton is. And then if we were 6-handed, the seat to the right of Anton would be the low jack. And then the small blind to the big blind, of course. It's always important to develop a strong terminology when speaking about anything. You want to make sure that it's clear what you are saying and you want to make it clear for people who you're speaking to so that you can discuss situations intelligently. You have to be careful, for example, saying that in this hand, Thiago is under the gun, right? Like say I just present a hand to one of my friends and I say, yeah, so the under the gun player raised, and then I called on the button. That's very different 5-handed compared to if it is 9-handed. Because Thiago's range should be very different. Like very few people are raising ace-3 suited from under the gun 9-handed, whereas they're raising it 5-handed every time. So you always want to make sure you and the people you are discussing have an idea of what you are actually discussing, and not otherwise just it's the blind leading the blind to some extent, and you don't want that.
Anyone enjoying Jonathan's analysis, make sure you tune into our strategy videos, which are being aired between matches here on the GPL. We've recorded around 12 or 13 hands to now. All hands from the GPL involving excellent players and high-level strategy. Jonathan takes them through the hand from start to finish.
We play those in between matches and after the matches are over, sometimes before the matches start. So make sure you check them out.
Those will be catalogued, guys, on our YouTube channel, Global Poker League. And more importantly, view them on the app, guys. GPL TV, available on iOS and Android. You can also access the merchandise store. T-shirts, caps, and hoodies for your favorite GPL franchise. Available at very reasonable prices. They'll be on eBay before long. Retailing for more than their price available on the GPL app. Flush draw for Thiago.
2 on my big blind there.
Notice Xuan commenting about how she's not going to be defending the blinds with 8-2 offsuit, even though she's getting great pot odds. Thiago decides to take a stab, trying to get Kevin off of junky pairs and better ace highs. And also, he doesn't want to let Kevin perhaps bluff him on the turn and the river. Spot where Thiago certainly could check call easily on the turn, though. But I think there are some better hands you get to fold. If you all are enjoying my commentary, let the people at Global Poker League know. Maybe they'll have me back. And also check out my website, jonathanlittlepoker.com. There I upload a weekly educational blog, a podcast. I have a bunch of books, a bunch of training videos. So if you like what I'm doing here, you can find out more there.
Jonathan Little, guys, putting out more content than BuzzFeed. All of it highly valuable as a player who's, you know, an amateur trying to improve, which I am.
I do my best. I hope you enjoy it. So here we have a limped pot. Kevin limps, Anton checks. Let's see if Kevin takes a stab at the flop, and he does. So now does Anton peel? Anton seems to strike me as a little bit of a tighter player, but at the same time, it could just be a function of him not having too many great hands, at least in the games that I've witnessed him play.
Well, he's Swedish. Swedish and tight are rarely two words used in the same sentence, but we haven't seen him too out of line in this match so far. Anton Wigg is, of course, a EBT champion, taking down EBT Copenhagen in 2010.
It's interesting he did not take a stab on the turn here. I imagine he's going to bet the river if Kevin checks again, but Kevin may bet this river to try to pick up the pot. I'm very surprised both players just checked. It seems like both of them should realize they have no showdown value, or very little showdown value. That's interesting to me. Whenever you have a marginal amount of showdown value and it's clear your opponent's checking down, or it looks like they're checking down, you have to ask yourself, do I actually have a lot of showdown value? Like in that spot, ace high probably does have showdown value. King high may, and queen high probably doesn't. So that's the spot where I think Anton should at least have considered firing the river. Let's see if he puts in the 3-bet with these pocket sevens or if he just calls. He does put in the 3-bet. And let's see how Thiago plays it.
These are the two biggest stacks at the table. All the other guys will be hoping they elect to play a huge pot.
Yeah, when you are just hanging out with a starting stack, you're really rooting for one of these two players to get a hold of all the chips because it makes you way more likely to take second, third, or fourth place, and obviously one of these guys would go broke if they did play a gigantic pot. So Thiago puts in the 4-bet. I suppose he's willing to go with it. And usually when a guy puts in a third of his stack, he's willing to go with it. But maybe Thiago's crazy. He certainly could be. I've played with plenty of Brazilian players who are not afraid to gamble.
Anyone who sweeps Justin Bonomo in the cube must have an idea of what they're doing.
Wow, good fold by Anton there. Some players get really overly optimistic and elect to go all in or maybe even call.
Yeah. Xuan Lu, kick things off under the gun with the ace-10. Kevin lets go of the ace-3 suited. Discipline there by Kevin.
Thiago may or may not play this hand. I imagine he's just not. 9-5's pretty weak, especially facing an early position raiser.
There's 3 pairs here, and ace-king.
So this is interesting. I imagine Kevin's going to raise, and then all the pairs are just going to call. Pocket fours may even fold, which may sound a little bit snug, but I don't think it's ridiculous.
Interesting, yeah.
And the reason he's folding here is because he could get re-raised. If he does get a set, there's no guarantee he's going to stack his opponent. Also notice Kevin's somewhat short. He only started with about 23 big blinds. You usually want to be getting at least 8-1 implied odds. And there he's getting 11, but that 8-1 number is if your opponent's not so good. And Kevin's certainly good. So notice here, maybe Olivier would have raised if Anton called, and then Anton just gives away 1,500. So now we're going to see Kevin all in. And all but one. Got to put in that extra one, Kevin.
These guys are flipping.
Any action is good for us.
LA Sunset against
Because it means that there's a good
New York
chance we're
Rounders.
going to get to ladder.
ladder means to move up in the payouts.
Off we go to the races. Set for Olivier. Very hard for Kevin to win this from here.
This is just how Olivier does it. He makes sets.
And yeah, it's going to be curtains for Kevin Macphee of the New York Rounders. He's going to bust in 6th place, or 5th place rather.
Tough luck for Kevin again. So he had a 6, a 6th, and a 5th.
Yeah, really rough run for Kevin Macphee in the GPL 6 Max.
You would think he's the worst six-handed player in the world. I can promise that's not true. I've played with him quite a few times, and he is a very strong player. But you got to win your all-ins, and so far he has won virtually none of them. Interesting fold there by Xuan Lu. She likes to not play the ace-8 offsuit, probably because she's getting a little bit shorter. But she has to be careful to not let Thiago run them over. And it certainly will start to feel like it, given he's opening a decent amount of pots. Thiago may be a relative unknown to a lot of players, but he has $4.3 million in online cashes. So clearly a very strong online player. And he also has roughly $2 million in career live tournament earnings. So that's quite a strong performance. I mean, I don't know much about him, or I didn't know much about him before the Global Poker League. And there are a lot of guys out there who you do not even know of, or maybe you just have not gotten on your radar for whatever reason, who are fantastic. So always be aware of that.
Olivier applying the pressure. Just not good enough to call here.
Xuan could consider going all in pre-flop with that king-jack, given that she is clearly the short stack. When you're clearly the short stack, it's unlikely that you are going to move up before anyone else on average. So that should make you a little bit more inclined to gamble. I'm not saying that her fold was bad or anything like that, but I would have at least considered shoving if I think Olivier is getting out of line and leaning on me a little too much.
Xuan defending the 10-7 suited.
I was just check folding.
Olivier is just happy to check this down and get to showdown. If he bets, he's always going to get called by an ace or a queen, so there's no real purpose in betting. Of course, you could make a hand like king high fold or jack high fold that may get there on the river.
Mean, I'm not going to bother taking a stab at this.
If Xuan's been paying attention to the stream so far, she'll notice that Olivier has been checking back made hands to get to showdown.
And quite often he is trying to get to showdown. Right there, I imagine if Xuan bet the river, Olivier would have considered folding, just because the board ran out so horribly. But at the same time, Olivier could have easily had an ace or a king that he's never folding, and that's why this strategy is typically implementing versus these Global Poker League players is quite strong. It's just hard to do much about it because sometimes he's folding and sometimes he's calling, and you never know. So you're stuck bluffing kind of blindly. It's not like...
And now we're in shoving territory.
So Xuan does make the all-in, 15 big blinds, and Olivier snaps it off.
Okay. King. Or a 10.
Little pair for Busquet. Need an ace or a 6.
Hold.
Xuan holding through the turn. 4 in the river, and Xuan Lu's going to double up.
Finally some luck, she's saying.
Rear number 1.
She is number 1. Chip leader at the moment. Someone's having fun in Xuan's apartment or home. King 6 suited may get open from Anton. Folding's also perfectly fine.
And Anton kicks this off with the King 6 of spades. Anton Wigg is on a 3-match winning streak on the GPL. 1 6 max victory and 2 heads-up matches in the Summer Series, including a sweep against Chris Moorman.
It's quite impressive. Interesting, Anton. Well, just gave it up kind of easily.
Wow, he folded 7s.
There we go.
So sick.
Good evening, Thiago.
Hello, Thiago. Don't be shy. We want to know you.
Yeah. If you don't know, you better get to know.
I think limping here is fine. Raising is also fine.
Let's see if Anton gets aggressive with this total garbage hand. I think it's perfectly a fine strategy. This is perhaps something I don't do enough raising in this spot. If I'm going to raise, I think I'd make it a bit bigger to really try to increase fold equity. But, you know, whatever.
Could jam, but I don't think Anton is necessarily the most aggressive in these spots. So let's just see a flop.
So not what Anton was hoping for on this flop, because he's going to bet and Xuan is never going to fold, at least on the flop. This is a spot where perhaps Anton plans on betting small on the flop and then betting either small on turn and then huge on the river, or just huge on the turn. He may go, well, I think he's certainly going to go for another bet on this card. He picks up some equity. He can easily make Xuan fold out ace highs, maybe some king highs, maybe some marginal pairs. So he does go for not such a big bet. I'm kind of, I guess he's going for it on the river.
Not entirely convinced.
Buckle up. Let's see if Anton has the all-in his range. It's kind of a rough card on the river because Xuan could easily have a hand like 5-4 or ace-5. Interesting. I do not know if Anton's going to go for this or not, but I imagine he is. I don't know why you're playing this hand if you're going to find a way not to put it all in by the river.
It's really tough to fold pairs heads up.
Solid analysis. I don't like folding pairs either.
I mean, unless he has exactly a queen or an overpair, which is so tough.
Wow, gives it up.
Okay, so I was definitely wrong about the Anton not being super aggressive on this last part, but
He's Swedish.
at least we didn't fold at
Well,
any point.
She was right to some extent
Just
because he
flop.
didn't fire on the river.
Yeah.
He's kicking himself for that one, I bet, because he saw that she had a hand that she would probably fold on the river. Notice Olivier not re-raising out of position with this ace-x suited, just calling, seeing a flop. I'm interested to see if he calls this flop bet or not.
Backdoor clubs.
Imagine he probably will. Seems like a hand that's just a little bit too good to fold. So Xuan should probably be happy to check behind on this turn and just try to get closer to showdown. Notice Olivier was drawing nearly dead going to the river.
Finds the 3-outer.
Yeah,
I
nearly.
don't think anything good can happen if we try to bluff this pot. So plus, oh wow, I was gonna say plus our ace high is good here some of the time, but obviously not when he hits the 7 on the river.
We'll see if Thiago gets after it.
This is only the third time we've seen Olivier Busquet in the 6-max element of the Global Poker League.
He's as a first and a fifth.
First and a fifth in week 4.
I know this because I've studied.
I wouldn't expect anything different from Jonathan Duhamel, the most studious player on the GPL, or a contender for that crown.
So check on the flop. Will Olivier take a stab now to try to get Thiago off of king highs, queen highs, etc.? And he does. Thiago's going to stick around here most likely. He may decide to raise or call. I think both plays are perfectly acceptable. Now does Olivier try again? I mean, you're trying to get ace high, king high to fold. But he just checks. And he gives Thiago the opportunity to bluff. I mean, this is the problem with playing against Olivier, is that Olivier could just easily have an 8 here that he's never folding, and you don't know what to do. But this time he had jack high, and the bluff worked. It's important to realize that sometimes your opponent's bluffs should be working. It's okay for their bluffs to work.
Kitchens.
So Thiago using a limping strategy from the small blind.
Pops a gut shot.
It's a great spot to go ahead and throw out a bet because you'll make some jack highs and queen highs fold, and also you have a backdoor flush draw, you have a gut shot, you have an overcard. I mean, what more do you want, really, than just all the draws? Just give me all the draws, we can play all day. You get middle set, give me all the draws, you'll probably win.
Follow the GPL on Twitter, guys. Always looking to interact with our audience via Twitch and via Twitter.
If we didn't respect Anton, we would have raised there.
Good analysis right there. It's important to realize who you're playing against, and Xuan certainly does. Notice Xuan using slightly bigger sizing than a min raise because you want to discourage your opponent from calling in the big blind. If they play well, and Olivier certainly plays well, this could spell trouble for Olivier, especially if they peel a diamond on the turn. Xuan could conceivably check behind on this flop. I'm not saying she should, but this is a pretty good one to check behind on because notice any diamond is fine. Your opponent's unlikely to catch up too easily with whatever
Yes,
they
the
have.
flush got there, but I think our hand's just way too strong to be checking this again.
Someone's drumming. It was Thiago. I made a read. Notice there Olivier does just fold on that pretty awful turn for him.
Thiago is undoubtedly one of the top 5 most handsome players on the GPL.
Oh, he's your type?
I mean, I think he's objectively handsome. I mean, everyone's... John Little currently holds the #1 spot, obviously. But the next 4 is, you know, up for discussion.
Queen, queen.
Anton's all in. Over the top of... Well, no, under the gun. Going to...
Olivier could get in trouble here. I think Olivier should fold because he does have to worry about the 2 players yet to act. And Anton should be shoving a lot of pairs.
Not really.
Good fold by Olivier and a easy call with the queens.
Anton needing a 5 here.
Yay.
If Olivier was a little bit worse at poker, he would be winning all the money.
And yeah, just a 5 and a 5 only for Anton Wigg. Well, we will lose him in 4th place. We're 3-handed in this first America's 6 max.
Good game, Anton.
GG, Anton.
Another performance that was not what his franchise needed. A bit like Jonathan Little, he's failed to put the points on the board.
The rich
Didn't
get
really do
richer.
much wrong there. Got his money in with a pet, ran into the queens of Xuan Lu. And yeah, just like that, we're 3-handed. Between the, between 3-point teams who need the points least.
You say they need it the least, but this is actually just going to make it more likely that these 3 teams lock up.
Yeah.
I mean, all the teams in the Americas still need it
Yeah,
besides
very bad
Montreal.
hand.
Yeah.
I
Now, what I
think
was getting at
there
was
is a lot
these
of
are the
value
teams that
in
started
applying
the
pressure
day
to
in the
both
top
these
3
players
spots
right
in the
now.
Americas Conference.
It's kind of interesting, though, because
That's
Montreal
suited.
and LA really don't actually need the points, but Sao Paulo does need the points because they are a solid 20 points behind the 1st and 2nd place teams. So there is still a bit of a race in the Americas Conference, but Las Vegas Moneymakers and San Francisco are quickly falling out of it.
Well, Xuan Lu has locked up 3 points, which is more than she managed in her 2 matches last week. And we've been willing her on. And here we go, guys. We have 3 players on webcam.
That is
Wow.
really,
We've been
really
joined
well
by
done.
Olivier Busquet in the top right of your screen, still with Thiago and Xuan.
I mean, obviously, we're not going to be too worried about getting blown off our equity here since we have 7 high. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in the standard C-bet.
Xuan thinks she's on high stakes poker.
Really getting after it. No bonus for 7-2 in this game.
No bonuses on the GPL for 7 deuce, guys. 100k for the winning team, though.
So I would probably not raise the 7-2 on the button versus these 2 players, even as a big stack, but maybe there just is merit in doing it because Xuan is the big stack. She can get the other players to fold out a little bit too much.
Maybe he's multi-tabling. Yes, we hit a 7. Okay, now we can actually win this hand a decent amount of time. since there are a lot of draws on that flop.
And more importantly, she can
that
stop
we now
bluffing.
beat.
No. We hope that we've lost our webcams temporarily, guys. We're offering a pretty handsome selection of boys and girls on the GPL.
Yeah, what a pretty group of humans.
Wouldn't complain if I looked like any of those three.
Thiago, wake up.
Busquet occupying the same spot that we saw him the other night when he went down to Marc-Andre Ladouceur. Machine gun fire in Xuan Lu's house.
The other day I was streaming and it sounded like someone was trying to break in my front door. But it wasn't. It was someone trying to break into the people's door next to mine. So that was lucky. Lucky for me.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're okay, Jonathan. I mean, you know, wouldn't want to...
Thiago putting his time bank to good use. He left.
There he comes.
Oh, hello. Oh, now we're playing poker. Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't seem in too much hurry to act on his queen there.
Goodbye.
We've lost Thiago down to two very pretty people.
Just call it a timeout. No one complains when they take timeouts in other sports. No complaining when they take timeouts here.
Thiago may be experiencing some sort of connection issue, guys.
So apparently, Thiago's having a bit of internet trouble. But that's okay. It doesn't really matter because we're watching them play poker right now.
Indeed.
Tech issues happen. Think about the marvelous world we live in. We're sitting here in Malta talking about people playing poker in wherever they are.
Montreal and Sao Paulo.
Montreal and Sao Paulo.
Obviously, Jonathan.
And Los Angeles. And when the least little thing doesn't work, some people lose their minds. But really, it's an absolute miracle any of this is happening.
He can wait like 15 more minutes to do
Really,
whatever he's doing.
The funny thing here, Xuan's like in the tank actually thinking, what am I going to do here? And Thiago doesn't care. He's just chilling. Olivier's wondering, is my computer broken? But yes, be kind when tech issues happen. We're not trying to have tech issues happen. Like whenever I'm streaming and things happen, you know, I'm not trying to make them happen. It happens and it's okay.
Yeah.
Life will go on.
Be kind at all times, especially when tech issues happen.
Yes, because the person who they're happening to is way more unhappy than the person who they're happening, on the other end. Whatever. Here we go. Blinds are now 800, 1600. That little time bank made us get closer to going up in blinds. I'm not putting a sentence together very well. That's what happens when they don't feed me here in the Global Poker League.
John Little still waiting for his pasta.
Is
It's
he,
been
like,
about a week and a half.
stalling so the blinds go up or something? Like, surely this match is not that serious.
So Xuan mentioning that perhaps Thiago is playing slowly so the blinds go up higher. And that's actually not a bad strategy if you think your opponents are better than you at a specific stack depth. But I don't think that's happening.
Possible that Xuan Lu thinks she's getting Tom Marchesi'd and that the a huge timeout bluff is coming. But no. He's just tanking down the a6. Talking of Thiago Nishijima, Thiago Nishijima will be playing from TwitchCon against Scott Ball of the Las Vegas Moneymakers on Saturday. GPL will be at TwitchCon.
I'm confused what's happening. I don't, like, is this guy stalling right now?
We just have to wait 6 more minutes for him.
Look at how unhappy Olivier looks. He's like, what's going on? Is this real?
Thiago Nishijima is suffering connection problems, guys. Please bear with us. Please show more patience in Olivier Busquet. He's pretty mad.
He's not mad. He just wants to make sure everything's working. It's always unnerving, like whenever you're playing online for a lot of money and you see a guy timing out past his time bank and then it still just sits there like, oh no, I'm disconnected. Because then you know that it doesn't really give you any indication to you that you are disconnected. Oh, they're going back on us. So I guess they've paused the game for a second. Let's take a timeout.
Yeah, I mean, apologies for my lack of a blazer. I was caught unaware by the timeout issue in that game. Three-handed, Olivier Busquet, Thiago Nishijima, and Xuan Lu. That game, I mean, has elements of similarity with the first Eurasian game that we saw, in that the first three bust-outs were largely a result of coolers, and now we're going to probably see a bit more sort of flop, turn, and river action as we get three and even heads up.
Well, so the issue with that is actually that's probably not the case, because the blinds have tanked down for this last orbit, so we've lost essentially a blind level. So now the stacks are back shallow, as we can see. We see blinds are going up to now 1,000, 2,000. So Olivier only has 15 big blinds. Thiago has 25, and Xuan has the rest. Notice here Xuan has the rest, which is she has a bunch of chips. So if she happens to lose some pots, then we perhaps will be in that spot where we can play a little bit more post-flop poker. But right now it's relatively shallow. So we're back. Hopefully we can get the players back so we can hear them.
2,000.
Well, Xuan Lu has locked up 3 points.
I mean,
Managed to.
she did raise 7 deuce suited, so I don't know.
Here we go, guys.
Olivier saying what he thinks of raising 7 deuce suited.
Yep.
Wow. Joined by Olivier Busquet, top right Busquet, still with Thiago and Xuan.
Hearing a bit of feedback. One of these players has not muted the volume on their Twitch feed.
Notice the open shove from Olivier as opposed to a min-raise call-off. And that's something you need to do if you want to be shoving with other hands, like pocket
Yeah, we have
threes.
really shitty hands, but now that we can apply some pressure because they have similar stacks, Olivier is no longer like the shortest stack here. And since he knows we're like folding a lot of small blinds, he should be more wary to jam light on us.
According to my stat sheet, Thiago Nishijima is 37 years old. That's one youthful-looking 37-year-old.
You are so into him. Would you like his number? I can get it for you. If you want to give him a call as soon as we get done.
I think I'm going to find him on Twitter.
Take your jacket back off. Cool down, sir. Cool down. Hit him up on Twitter. Send him a direct message.
Oh, yeah.
Ask him what he's doing this weekend.
Be asking him for a follow back later on.
So here we're going to see Thiago go all in, most likely.
Before for a match.
And Olivier is going to be in a nasty spot if Thiago shoves. Or if he re-raises small, either one. He does elect to make the shove.
You guys are thinking of.
I actually don't know what to do here.
That is exactly what I said. Clearly you should call this time. Horrible spot. And the reason because ace-8 has dominated a bunch.
My hand was a little stronger or a little weaker.
Yeah, like ace-3 you can just fold, ace-10 you can call. We're right on the cusp.
I think I'm going to call.
Oh,
Good luck.
there makes the call. You see avoid a king or a 10. Pretty safe flop. Nice turn for Olivier. Just needs to avoid the king or the 10.
And he does it.
Thiago Nishijima crippled to 3.5 big blinds.
I always get so excited when I get to watch Olivier Busquet get heads up. We may see it soon. Now that Thiago's down to a very short stack. You have to be careful with this short stack when we're playing three-handed because
I wonder if
sometimes...
I should actually just flat here because our hand's so strong.
I believe she should flat, not necessarily because of
Pretty
that.
strong, but it's also kind of vulnerable that we don't want. There's going to be a lot of flops that aren't great for us. But at the same time, I still think this is the best play because Olivier can potentially isolate with weaker hands, and we're also just going to flop a set, so it's not going to even matter.
Thiago's smelling the treble up.
Yeah, Thiago's loving this.
Little do you know that he's drawing dead.
This is an interesting scenario that we don't have enough time to explain right now, but Xuan really wants Thiago out, whereas Olivier does not want Thiago out.
Heads up. Let's go.
So just think about this if you were watching at home. And ask yourself, why does Olivier not want Thiago out? That's your homework for the day. I'm a big fan of homework. I have a website, pokercoaching.com, where we give homework each month, and then I analyze all the students' answers. That's homework. Why does Olivier want Thiago to stick around? All right, so anyway, here we are.
Tweets GPL, guys. Answer in the Twitch chat.
If you guys like homework questions, I can propose many more.
Homework with John Little.
All right, so here we are, heads up. Xuan Liu versus Olivier Busquet. Both players, well, happy enough with the results so far. Both players are at the top of the league,
Yep.
which is good. Kind of interesting that here the rich really are getting richer, which doesn't really affect the players at the bottom of the league, the bottom 4 teams, because those players really didn't get very many points either way. So if there was a result for Las Vegas Moneymakers that had them taking 6th place, this is about the result they would hope for, because we're not catching up to either of these teams in the regular league anyway, or the regular season anyway. So this is about as good as we could hope for. The problem is Sao Paulo got the most points. New York Rangers got the 2nd most points, so they're just getting further and further away from the bottom 2 teams. Here we have the 2 players.
We're happy to flop the pair, but not going to go crazy in this hand since our holding is still not very good.
Both players happy just to check down with their bottom pair.
I'm trying to think. Last time, Olivier just tried to check it down with the 9s there. When it ran Broadway with an ace on that flop. I don't know if we should try to block. I think we can potentially turn our hand into a bluff at this point if we don't already have him beat.
Interesting. So Olivier using a limping strategy with these 20 big blind deep stacks. This is a spot where I think if Olivier had a backdoor draw of any type, he probably would have thrown out a bet on the flop. I guess he does have a bad backdoor straight draw, but it is a bad backdoor straight draw. It's not a good one. Let's see if he takes a stab on the river.
Club. Okay, 1 stab.
Notice Xuan has
Nice.
been the first one to fire in these last 2 pots, and it's picking the pots up for her, which is always great for her.
I like all the credit I'm getting though.
Olivier Busquet will go joint top with Anatoly Filatov, whatever happens in this game, in the GPL top point scorers chart.
Wow.
Win will take him 2 points clear of Filatov.
And he has 1 more game to play today.
Yep.
I think. Although maybe Eugene's playing.
Oh.
We'll see.
We'll confirm that from you in a moment, folks. I did see one suggestion that maybe Chance Kornuth playing in the 2nd game. I think Eugene Kachlov made day 2 of W Coup.
Day 3 of W Coup.
Day 3, even. Didn't even know day 3 existed until Jonathan Little was telling me about his weekend.
I'd expect him to cost with every ace and potentially lick us up with some worse hands. So it's worth giving it a bet here. Obviously, we're just going to cry if he jams this on us.
Yeah.
Nice.
Crying call from
Makes
Olivier.
sense as a hand, I guess.
Xuan pulling ahead here.
Yeah, somehow made day 3 of a $100 buy-in tournament. They had 30 day ones.
15 bigs.
I took 18th out of 20,000 people.
No, is this
I
a
almost
call,
won some
guys?
money.
Do you fire multiple day ones?
I played about 4 of them.
Okay.
I think I got 5,000 for my cash. First place was
Maybe it is.
200,000. I would have preferred to win, but yeah,
Yeah.
5,000 is okay.
Put yourself in the mix-up.
My first day 3 of an online tournament.
Oh, there you go. Not easy.
Normally I bust in like 45 minutes. It's a miracle to last 4 hours. I don't even know how I possibly lasted to day 3. It seems unbelievable. We may see an all-in from Xuan, and Olivier has to fold. Nothing going right for Olivier in this heads-up match. Xuan may like to open jam this, but she does limp. Xuan does the limp bet, which is quite a strong strategy. Someone's going to break their
We
mouse
should
if they
always
keep
let
clicking
this
so hard.
Because we didn't shove pre, so we never really have an ace here.
Notice another limp bet situation.
One of these guys really giving some on the clicks.
You don't click harder whenever you're tilty? I know that I sure do. Whenever things are going poorly, the mouse usually takes the brunt of it.
Always treat a mouse like it's a woman, Jonathan. Regardless of how you're running.
Xuan defends a 6-3 offsuit. That is optimistic.
She has something. We're gonna. What's she called there, huh?
Olivier is not going to be happy if this one gets the showdown. I can already tell you.
Look, if Olivier bets again here. Oh, he's going to shove and
Xuan may hero.
Okay.
That would have been amazing if she called. So Olivier's chipped back up to about 20 big blinds. They will keep fighting.
Come on, give me something to work with.
She just had it. Middle pair. What more do you want?
I can work with this.
Heads up is middle pair is fantastic. Wow.
And that flop.
Both players are loving this flop.
She's c-betting a really, really high percentage.
She's had it sometimes.
This guy going to raise here.
Now the question is, should we start playing a big pot now, or
This is going to be so great if
we're
she
just gonna
applies
go on
aggression.
this spot, hit the flush, and then put the chips in?
So if Olivier bets the turn, I think Xuan should actually slow play. Because if you shove, Olivier could conceivably fold out his bluffs. And as you see here, Olivier is drawing with 14% equity, which is almost none. So good just call by Xuan. You give Olivier the chance to continue bluffing off.
Is this GG?
Okay.
Nice sound.
Yay!
Good game.
Good game, Olivier.
Xuan Liu takes it down for the Montreal
All right,
Nationals.
so we've redeemed ourselves a little bit from last week.
There it is, guys. The rich get richer in the Americas Conference, and the poor getting a bit poorer. Montreal Nationals, Xuan Liu, taking maximum points there. Olivier Busquet, another really nice performance from him in the GPL. He moves up to joint with Anatoly Filatov in the top scorer position. What do you make of that performance by Xuan Liu, Jonathan?
She played great. I mean, same thing as last week. It seemed like if she made any missteps, they were very small. I think people thought she was going to be a little bit too tight, but it turns out she was probably a little bit too loose. And that's exactly what you want to be doing. You want to take whatever perception your opponents have of you and do a little bit of the opposite of that. And it worked out well for her.
I mean, Olivier Busquet, known as probably one of the best heads-up online players in the world. Xuan Liu didn't really look at all phased by that. You know, she really was able to kind of mix it up with him. Didn't really seem bullied or intimidated at all by his, a player of that stature.
Yeah, she's certainly not intimidated. She just plays her best. I mean, that's all you really can do. Whenever they put you against perhaps the best heads-up sit-and-go player in the world, one of the top players, here you are, you got to play your best and don't lose your mind.
Well, that wasn't what the teams down the bottom of the American Conference were looking for there. Really nice position for the Montreal Nationals now. Can really kind of look forward to the playoffs. I believe we're going to get an interview with Xuan Liu from Laura Cornelius over in the lounge. That might be the case. So over to you, Laura.
Thank you so much, Roland and Jonathan Little in the commentary box. And congratulations to the Montreal Nationals. As Roland said, the rich getting even richer. 7 points go straight to them. That will elevate their lead even further. Let's see if Xuan is on the line right now. Congratulations, the beautiful Xuan Liu. Doing good. Talk us through that match. It seemed to be a breeze. You just beat one of the best heads-up players in the world, just like that.
I wouldn't exactly call it a breeze. I think I just, played pretty solid poker, and like I said, I tried to maybe capitalize on some thoughts the other players might have had about me being too tight in certain spots, and it worked out. And obviously, I made hands and I had queens when Kevin had fives, and yeah, that's what you need to do to win these things.
The Montreal Nationals didn't really even need the points. The poor Las Vegas Moneymakers were in desperate need of some points. They ended up coming 6th. You guys ended up coming 1st. That must feel pretty good though.
Yeah, it's awesome, especially since I played 2 6 max matches last week and I got like last place and second last place. And so I was like kind of sad about it. But you know, these things are basically hyper turbos, so I'm just happy to have redeemed myself a little bit.
Yeah, you guys aren't, well, you are playing for the big final prize, the 100,000, but obviously these are for points, but it still does hurt. I guess it hurts the ego a little bit if you're not able to pick up any points in a week.
For sure. I definitely thought we were going to lose first place after my performance last week, but luckily the LA Sunset didn't quite come over the top on us last week.
And you're feeling that for the whole team as well. It's not just you, is it? It's like the pressure of letting everybody down.
Yeah, but luckily because my team is so awesome, I knew that they were gonna, you know, get us back up there again, like Marc-Andre did.
Well, that didn't happen this week, luckily. There's still one more game to play, though. In the Eurasian Conference, we saw Brian Rast, first ever time, win the first and the second 6 max. Do you think you've got it in you to do it as well?
I'm gonna try.
All right, that's all a girl can hope for. Thanks so much, Xuan, and good luck in this next 6 max.
Thanks, guys. Thanks,
Bye.
Laura.
Xuan Liu there, taking the 7 points for the Montreal Nationals. Let's take a look at the scores for match 129. There it is, 7 points for the Nationals. Olivier Busquet, 5 points there. Interesting, the top 3 obviously are the top 3 in the conference. So Busquet for LA Sunset with 5 points, Nishijima with 3 points for the Sao Paulo Mets. We saw Anton, Wigg in action for the San Francisco Rush. They're taking 2 points. Kevin Macphee for the New York Rounders with just 1 point. He's not had such great luck in this 6 max format, but we saw some great stuff from him in Las Vegas in the Cube. And Jonathan Duhamel, a dismal 0 points. He got very unlucky earlier on with that cooler, the ace queen that we saw. He is really hoping to score the 7 points in this next match. If they don't manage to score many points, I don't know what's going to happen. This is what the table looks like in the Americas Conference right now. You can see the gap is widening now between 5th and 6th. There's 15 points now separating the Las Vegas Moneymakers and the San Francisco Rush. So they are going to have to come first in every single thing they do in the next couple of days. The New York Rounders with 124 points. That's a 9-point difference between 4th and 5th. We've got Sao Paulo Mets in 3rd with 129, just 5 points ahead of the New York Rounders on 124. LA Sunset is separating itself with 152 points. They're in 2nd place, and Montreal Nationals are separating themselves even further now with that 1st place and those 7 points that Xuan Liu was just able to make. Let's take a look at the next 6 max match. This is what's coming up next. It is pretty much the same except for 2 minor changes. We've got Kevin Macphee back for the New York Rounders. Chance Kornuth will step in for Olivier Busquet for the LA Sunset. We've got Anton, Wigg back again for the San Francisco Rush. Anthony Zinno is stepping in for Jonathan Duhamel. There is a lot of pressure on Zinno's shoulders here. He needs to come first. We've got Xuan Liu back in action for the Montreal Nationals, and we have Thiago, Nishijima in action again once more for the Sao Paulo Mets. We will be back here very soon, 11:30 p.m. Central European time, so please make sure you are back with us too, because this next 6 max match from the Americas Conference will not disappoint. Join us here very soon.
Hello and welcome to the Global Poker League and our new strategy segment where we ask our guest pro for the week to take us through a key hand from the GPL, joined once again by Mr. Jonathan Little of the Las Vegas Moneymakers. He's going to take us through a hand involving his teammate from the Las Vegas Moneymakers, Jake Cody, and Jonathan Jaffy of the San Francisco Rush. It's a hand where we see quite a big bluff by Jake Cody with the nut flush blocker. Jonathan, take us through how this hand played out.
Let's see how the Moneymakers make money. All right, so looks like an innocuous hand to start. Jake Cody makes a min raise. The blinds are 500 to 1,000. He makes it 2,000 with ace-5 offsuit on the button. And now it is on to Jonathan Jaffy, who calls with 7-5 offsuit. Some players re-raise this. No one's really folding. You can't fold too much from the big blind, otherwise your opponent can somewhat quickly blind you out, and you don't want to get blinded out in heads-up poker. So flop comes Jack 10-6, one spade. It goes check, check on the flop. This is a spot where Jake Cody's just happy to get close to showdown. He doesn't really have a reason to bet because if he bets and gets called, he's usually behind. Whereas if he checks this pot down, ace high is going to win a decent portion of the time. So Jonathan Jaffy turns a straight draw on the turn. He pretty much has to bet. 7 high has no real showdown value, and he has a straight draw. So this is a great spot to semi-bluff. That's what it's called when you bet with a hand that's almost certainly not good at the moment. But if you bet, you can pick up the pot. So he bets, and now Jake Cody thinks for a bit before calling. I think that this is a fine spot for Jake Cody to call and see what happens. He doesn't love this spot, but notice there are a bunch of draws available. Jonathan Jaffy could easily have a hand like King Queen, Queen 9, 9-8, stuff like that. So he can very easily be bluffing with a draw, semi-bluffing like he is. All right, so the river is the 8 of spades, giving Jonathan Jaffy a straight. That's exactly what he was wanting, although he preferred not to be the 8 of spades. So Jonathan Jaffy's going to make a value bet, which is certainly in line. You're not really so concerned that your opponent has a flush heads up. Of course, he could have it, but you can easily bet here and get called by a jack or a 10, maybe an 8. So there is a lot of value to be had in betting. So he gives it some thought. Let's see how much he makes it. He takes his time. Actually, Jonathan Jaffy is known to play pretty quick, so that is worth mentioning. You can take a look at the players' time banks. You'll see Jonathan Jaffy has significantly more time bank than Jake Cody. So anyway, Jonathan Jaffy bets 2/3 pot, 6,500 into the 10,200 pot with his straight. And now Jake Cody, it looks like he has a pretty easy fold because he has ace high, everything got there. He shouldn't really mess around too much. But notice here Jake Cody has the ace of spades in his hand. And imagine if Jake Cody had ace-5 of spades instead of ace of spades, 5 of clubs. What would he do in this spot? Well, he would certainly raise. So Jake Cody can use this hand as a bluff. This is called bluffing with a blocker. And in theory, Jake would like to have a different card than the 5 in his hand. I mean, the 5 blocks 7-5, meaning it's less likely for Jonathan Jaffy to have a 5 in his hand. But Jake Cody would rather have something like a 9 in his hand because Queen 9 and 9-7 are straights that make a whole lot of sense as well. So Jake Cody would prefer to have one of those cards, but I don't think the 5 matters so much. The most relevant factor here is the ace of spades. So how much would Jake Cody make it with a flush? That's what he wants to ask himself. And given that he would certainly raise with all of his nut hands, he also wants to do this with some number of bluffs. So which hands make the most sense to bluff? Well, it's the hands that can't win at showdown, that also have a blocker. And in this spot, that's ace of spades with another card. So he makes it 29,500. A big raise. He doesn't quite put Jonathan Jaffy all in. I don't know if he made that size for a specific reason or if this is just the size he would make it with his nuts and his bluffs. It's probably the case. He's probably doing it with both hands. And after a while, Jonathan Jaffy, who I am terrified of trying to bluff. I don't think I've ever tried to bluff Jonathan Jaffy in my life because he always calls me. He gives it a bunch of thought. And notice, he looks pretty unhappy. And I was just pretty convinced he was going to call here. But notice here, he actually loses to Queen 9, 9-7, and all the flushes. And this is a spot where Jake Cody would almost certainly play all of those hands in this exact manner. Maybe he doesn't have 9-7 too often, but he could. And he could certainly have Queen 9, although maybe he bets Queen 9 on the flop. But the backdoor flushes are the cards that really make, or are the hands that really make a lot of sense. So Jake Cody properly realized this is a great spot to go for it. I actually watched this hand on the Global Poker League. I commentated it, and I tried this exact play online the next day when I was playing, and my opponent bet the river. I shoved all in for about 3 times his bet. He thought for forever and then folded. I had the ace-high blocker and it worked great. Let's see if this one works out for him. This may be how the moneymakers lose their money. Jonathan Jaffy's still giving it thought. He's very unhappy about this. And he makes the fold.
Thanks
so
for later.
huge laydown there by Jonathan Jaffy, and this just shows you the power of this bluff versus players who are competent and can read hands. If Jonathan Jaffy is just a player who looks at his hand and says, well, I have a straight, I call, no problem, or I have trips, I call, or I have a set, I call, maybe that's not the type of player you want to do this against. But against someone who's smart and can hand read reasonably well, it's a pretty powerful play.
This is a play that you'd see perhaps slightly less often in heads-up play, just because of the fact that the hand rankings, gain value. I mean, a straight in heads-up is, kind of often seen as the nuts or close to, compared with a hand that's played out multi-ways.
Well, I think it really depends on the situation, because right here, Jake Cody could have the nuts, just like he could in full ring poker, he could also have the nuts. So I don't know if it necessarily happens more often. You do play way more heads-up pots in heads-up, so that should actually lead you to be bluffing a little bit more often, because you have to be fighting for these pots, and you have to win them more often to justify sticking around. But I don't think the fact that it's heads-up matters so much. Hand values change a little bit differently, like you're saying, the straight's just hard to get. But at the same time, Jonathan Jaffy here realizes that his straight is a bluff catcher. He loses to all of the value hands, so since he loses to all the value hands, I don't think it matters so much that it's heads up versus not heads up. It's just more so of a factor of putting your opponent on a range and going from there.
Okay, well, thanks, Jonathan. That's all for this segment on Strategy Corner here at the GPL. Join us again next time. Adios.
Connect with us on social media for league updates and download our app, GPL TV, to stay on top of everything GPL.
Hello and welcome to the Global Poker League and our new segment where we ask our guest pro to take us through a key hand from the GPL. I'm joined by Jonathan Little of the Las Vegas Moneymakers. He's going to take us through a hand between his teammate Jake Cody and the San Francisco Rush's Jonathan Jaffy. We see aces in the hands of one of our players in this hand. Jonathan, take it away.
All right, so Jonathan Jaffy gets a pretty good hand. Pocket aces, that's exactly what you want in any form of poker.
He is.
So he's going to make a raise, and then Jake Cody decides to re-raise this 9-6 suited. And that may seem quite aggressive, but this is an okay hand to re-raise because when your opponent does call, often they're going to have big cards, right? So your opponent's not going to necessarily give you credit for a low or middle card flop whenever you re-raise them. So hands to re-raise as a bluff that are good ones to re-raise are hands that your opponent will not expect. And that's going to be kind of bad suited connector-ish type hands, also off-suited connectors, and then just some absolute garbage like Jack 4 offsuit if you feel like it. So now Jonathan Jaffy, known for his very creative play, he is going to min re-raise, which I'm not sure if he's doing this as a bluff ever or if he's doing this primarily for value. I would not be the least bit surprised if Jonathan Jaffy has a hand like 5-3 suited some portion of the time, because that's how he rolls.
He's very keen for Jake not to be blown off the hand in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, the issue with that is that you have to make sure that it's not obvious to Jake Cody that you have a premium hand. Because if it's obvious to him that you have a premium hand, then Jake Cody's going to play well. But Jonathan Jaffy can get away with this stuff because he's been seen enough times impersonating a dolphin trainer and doing other things silly to the point that he could just be getting crazy and mixing it up. So he does re-raise the minimum. And now Jake Cody, notice we see here, is going to win 19% of the time. And he has to put in only 3,500 to win what's going to be a 16,000 pot. So he's getting the right price to call from out of position. The problem is that even though he's going to win 19% of the time, he's not going to realize that much equity most likely, meaning that he's going to have to fold hands that have some equity some portion of the time on average. But here, Jonathan Jaffy just has him crushed. So fantastic flop for Jonathan Jaffy. This is a spot where he definitely wants to do everything in his power to get Jake Cody to stick around. So how do you get someone to stick around on 8-3-3 when they have 9-6 suited?
Check back the flop.
You check back the flop. That's exactly it. There's probably some merit for Jonathan Jaffy to bet very small, like 2,000. I think that would be a pretty sweet play. This is a spot where Jonathan Jaffy should have an incredibly strong range. So maybe betting small is okay, but he does just check it back. And that lets Jake Cody
pick up a flush draw.
This is a card that could certainly get him in a lot of trouble. I would be interested to know if Jake Cody could ever have a hand like pocket queens or pocket eights here. I think he probably could. So he can certainly represent some premium hands. It's like he's only bluffing in this spot. But I think it's a pretty nice spot to go for a bluff. I mean, what are you going to do? You have 9 high. If you're ever trying to win this pot, you have to go for it. But at the same time, if you think your opponent just has aces, then you probably don't want to be going for it. Interestingly, this 9-6 somehow beats a few of Jonathan Jaffe's bluffs that I think he may have in his range, like 5-2 suited, that he decided to give up with. So if it somehow ever checks down, maybe 9 high wins, but that's not happening too often. Because Jonathan Jaffe's most likely going to turn the 5-2 into a bluff at some point, so you're not going to get to realize your equity. So Jake Cody being very deliberate, giving it some thought.
Remember when Jake was giving his rationale for this turn bet, he was sort of slightly doubting whether there were too many hands Jonathan Jaffy could re-raise with pre-flop and then check back, but he likes to go with the bet anyway.
Right, because maybe Jonathan Jaffy does bluff with stuff like 5-2 before the flop, but he's going to bet the flop with it a lot of the time because he can't win a showdown either. But maybe he decides to play it as he would play aces, which means check back the flop and then get frisky with it later. All right, so Jonathan Jaffy now definitely wants to call. If he raises, what can Jake Cody really call with besides maybe a queen or better, and you're going to stack a queen anyway? He does give Jake Cody the opportunity to outdraw him some portion of the time whenever he happens to have a random flush draw or a hand like Jack 10 that rivers a straight. But that's okay. He realizes Jake Cody has relatively little equity. Whatever hand he has, he's already priced himself out with this 10,000 bet into the 16,000 pot. So Jonathan Jaffy just wants to stick around and call. And notice this is a spot where maybe Jonathan Jaffy plays a hand like ace-king in this manner. Maybe he plays a hand like pocket sevens in this manner. This is a pretty rough river for Jake Cody because now he could easily have a hand like pocket jacks or queens or eights. There are actually a decent amount of hands that he could have at this point. I'm not sure if he should go for a bluff just because it seems very likely to me that Jonathan Jaffy has a strong hand. But if you think Jonathan Jaffy has a lot of ace-kings in his range, maybe it's fine just to go for it because he's probably going to fold on the river at this point. The thing is that Jake Cody, if he did have a hand like a jack, he'd probably just check the river. And if he had a queen here, he may even check the river then too because maybe Jonathan Jaffy doesn't call with a hand like pocket tens. I mean, this is a convoluted hand because there was a minimum 4-bet pre-flop. It's important to always go back to the pre-flop action and really try to narrow ranges. And who knows what's happening in this hand because Jonathan Jaffy may be just incredibly strong or he may have a bunch of bluffs in his range. But by the time we get to the river, I don't know if Jonathan Jaffy ever has 5-2 suited in his range by this river ever. So it looks like a nice spot to bluff for Jake Cody. He could certainly have the nuts here with queens or jacks, but I'm just not sure it's a good idea because I think Jonathan Jaffy's calling a lot on the river. So
Jake decides to open the clip, and I don't think this was a decision that Jonathan Jaffy took too long over.
No, I think it's a pretty easy call. Notice here, he knows when he checks behind this flop, he's never folding. So that's the spot where he went for it. And it did not work out too well for the Moneymakers.
Well, that's all for this particular hand, guys. Thank you to Jonathan Little. Join us again next time. Adios. Connect with us on social media for league updates and download our app GPL TV to stay on top of everything GPL. Hello and welcome to the Global Poker League and our new strategy segment where we ask our guest pro to take us through a key hand from the GPL. Joined this week by Mr. Jonathan Little of the Las Vegas Moneymakers. He's going to take us through a hand between his teammate Jake Cody and the San Francisco Rush's Jonathan Jaffy. This is a really key pot in this match. Jonathan, take it away.
All right, so we have a hand that's off.
And welcome back to the Global Poker League this Tuesday evening. I'm Laura Cornelius, and we've already seen 3 6-max action matches. Ooh, that was a mouthful. We have one left to go. It's from the Americas Conference. We have just seen Xuan Liu take the first one down from the Americas Conference. Can she do it again? She took 7 points, and here's what it did to the standings. Montreal Nationals climbing even higher. They are 8 points clear of LA Sunset, who also happened to come second in that first 6-max match. That was Olivier Busquet doing the work for them. So even if Montreal Nationals end with nothing in this next one, they will still stay at the top of the conference. We've got the Sao Paulo Mets with 129 points. There is a big gap between second and third. The New York Rounders on 124 points. The San Francisco Rush with 115 points. And struggling at the bottom of the table are the Las Vegas Moneymakers with just 100 points. We saw Jonathan Duhamel in action then. He didn't score any points, but Anthony Zinno will be in action in this second 6-max match. So let's see if he can make some points for the much needed Las Vegas Moneymakers. We are also going to tell you how you can download the app. All you have to do is find Global Poker League with your smartphone. You can download it on iOS or, of course, on Android, and we can offer you all of the latest news, and you can now buy merchandise, baseball caps, t-shirts and hoodies of your favorite team. Get yours now from our store. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter and YouTube. So please do. We are ready to be followed. We have a great match coming up for you in just a matter of moments. 2 minor changes to that first one. The boys over at the desk are going to tell you all about that though. Over to you, Jonathan Little and Roland in the booth.
Thanks, Laura. We do not consider these changes to be minor changes, do we, Jonathan?
These are
Anthony
huge
Zinno
changes.
coming in for Jonathan Duhamel and Chance Kornuth coming in for Olivier Busquet. Minor changes? No, I think not.
Chance and Olivier played differently. That should be very clear.
Huge!
And the change for the Las Vegas Moneymakers, Anthony Zinno, he was at one point the #1 ranked player on the Global Poker Index.
3 WPTs.
3 WPT titles over just the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I mean,
recently.
Killing it.
So I'm looking forward to seeing Anthony Zinno win this match. I mean, play this match.
Yeah.
And he's going to hopefully get the Las Vegas Moneymakers back in it.
Can Anthony succeed where Jonathan Duhamel failed? Has he got the what it takes to take down this lineup? Chance Kornuth, a player on incredible form, on the live poker circuit. He's an absolute incredible sort of 18 months. And we've seen Xuan Liu, pretty nice form there, just defeating the heads-up boss Olivier Busquet. So Zinno got a bit of work to do if he's to pull things around for the Moneymakers.
This is not a soft table.
No,
I think that's very clear. Zinno and I guess I was going to say Zinno plays a sort of unconventional style that some of these players may have a difficult time combating. It's one of the reasons he does so well on the live circuit, where he can make good reads and generally figure out where he stands in a lot of situations. So Zinno's a tough opponent who does kind of bizarre plays that often work out very well for him, kind of like Chance. Chance also takes a lot of unconventional lines. Usually his are incredibly aggressive. He borderlines being a maniac from time to time, but it really does work out well for him. He wins major poker tournaments.
Well, Chance Kornuth definitely shown some maniac or sort of tendencies of that nature on the GPL so far. I think everyone will remember him, playing in his last, I think it was his first 6-max game on the GPL from the European Poker Awards, and dusting off his stack on the very first hand to the amusement of the room. We've got the same lineup for the first 4 players. We've got Anton Wigg again, who needs to score some points for the San Francisco Rush. Didn't really go his way in that game. Ended up running 5s into, I think it was jacks or queens. But he's a player who, really strong player. Obviously, the only European that Faraz Jaka has opted for the San Francisco Rush. It's obviously thought very highly of by Faraz Jaka. And when you look at the sort of company he keeps in that team with Phil Galfont and Anthony Gregg, that's a player who will really be looking to score more highly than he did in the first game. Going to get to that game pretty soon, guys. Obviously, just to take you back over the tables, that's Montreal Nationals, the team that really, didn't need to get the sort of run of things. But Xuan Lu of the Montreal Nationals was very, impressive in that game, defeating Olivier Busquet heads up.
They don't necessarily need the points, but I promise you, Xuan Lu wants to put up a good performance and let everyone know how awesome she is, and she certainly did that.
I believe we're going to look at the stats of Anthony Zinno any minute, who's the new player coming in, replacing Jonathan Duhamel. He's the former number one on the GPI, over $6 million in earnings, 7 wins, a lot of those coming in the last couple of years, 3 of those coming in WPTs. Obviously one of a select group of people to have won 3 WPTs, alongside Chino Ream and Gus Hansen. And
Carlos Mortensen.
Carlos Mortensen, the matador himself. That group of WPT winners ahead of the 2-time WPT winners, of which my esteemed colleague Jonathan Little is one.
One thing you may have noticed on his stats is that his first cash was in 2007. So where a lot of other people who have 6 million or more in cashes, a lot of those players started in 2003 or 2004. So Anthony Zinno missed the first few years, but despite that, he still has fantastic results. And he's a force. He's tough to play against.
Yeah, Anthony Zinno is a player obviously well recognised by the GPI. He's a former number one and an incredibly tough opponent. I mean, especially on so those WPT wins. So the other player we probably didn't really see that much of was Kevin Macphee, who's hasn't got the run of things in the 6 max for the New York Rounders. Again, not really getting the run of things that game, just the 1 point. But I mean, an improvement on his double donut the last time we saw him. But Kevin's another player who plays a very proud player, very strong, and wants to put in a good showing here on the GPL.
Yeah, Kevin's a great player. He has over $12 million in cashes between online and live. He's been an online player for as long as I have, except for he's played consistently the entire time, whereas I took some time off after Black Friday happened in America. And he's a very tough player, but he's just had horrible, horrible luck so far in the Global Poker League. I mean, it's not like he's doing anything ridiculous. He just happens to find himself in bad spots, and he loses his all ends, and then he's out.
Yeah, well, I mean, saw Kevin, another cooler there. Plays as I'm a Luxac online, really strong player.
Apparently not.
Oh.
He's apparently not a Luxac.
Oh, okay. Yeah, not a Luxac in the GPL. And then the other guy who might see a graphic for is Thiago Nishijima, who will be playing actually on Saturday from TwitchCon against Scott Ball in another game involving your team. More to come on that in the next couple of days. He's a player, again, who has a really nice record on the GPL with some really incredible heads-up performances. This is the first time we've seen him in the 6 map, but he's defeated Justin Bonomo in the cube. That was a sweep, and he's also had a couple of wins against other, really strong players. I think one of them was Tom Marchese. So yeah, Thiago Nishijima, a player who really knows how to play poker, over 4 million in online cashes to go with his 2 million in live, and he's a player. Didn't see a huge amount of in that game. Again, the sort of the cards were largely what sort of fell, wrongly for him.
Yeah, we didn't see much, but he took third.
Yeah,
which
I
is
mean,
still,
he sort of benefited from a bit of laddering and really, quite a few coolers. Here we go, get to the game, guys, and we hoping to get some webcams. Saw 3 webcams for the first time on the GPL in that last game. That was a GPL first, I can confirm.
Let's get more.
Let's get 4.
I want 6 webcams.
Jonathan Little wants 6, guys.
And then let's get all the players talking at the same time. I'm sure that's what would happen. We go from having 2 players on when no one talks to we get 6 players on, and it would be everyone talking like crazy. So here you see Chance with a great hand on the button, Jack 3 offsuit. Chance is disconnected, apparently. Well, that's what happens with the internet. It's hard to stay connected to the internet.
Depends where you are.
Or if you're just Chance. Chance may just have problems staying connected to the internet. So, how's this hand going to play out if Chance folds? Do we just think Thiago's going to raise it and Anton's going to fold and that's going to be that? We move on?
Yeah, I think Thiago makes it around 500 here. Anton Wigg will let go of the junky Jack Deuce.
Well, so let me help you with this a little bit. From out of position, you want to be making it bigger. Typically about 3 to 3.5 times the big blind. Because if you make it 500, remember how we discussed in the previous game about what you are telling your opponent. You're telling Anton, I think you are so bad to where you cannot call in position getting great odds. So he's going to have to put in 300 more to win a pot that's going to be 950, 10, 11, 12. So he has to win 25% of the time to break even. And do you think Anton's going to be able to defend with a reasonable range in position to the point that he's only going to win 25% of the time? And the answer is yes.
Okay. So we're looking at around 600, for a standard open here for Thiago.
600, 650, 700. I would probably make it closer to 700 early in the tournament versus someone who I think is good and competent. Making it a little bit bigger from out of position is generally good because you cut down on the stack to pot ratio, which you would rather play bigger pots so that your opponent cannot outplay you from out of position.
Okay, just a reminder, guys. Charles Kornuth is disconnected. He is not pondering a move on the first hand with Jack 3 offsuit. Just a reminder, follow the GPL, at GPL on Twitter, and liaise and interact with us on the Twitter sphere using the hashtag.
Liaise is not an American word.
No, probably not the appropriate word in this instance. And obviously, keep up to date with the GPL on the go using the GPL TV app, available on iOS and Android. Just so much you can do there, guys. I can't stress enough. Every single hand that's been played on the GPL, and let me tell you, this is match 130. So all the hands from all 129 matches, highlights, lots of fun stuff out there with Jonathan little strategy segments, which we go through hands from the GPL, and perhaps most importantly of all, the GPL merchandise. I mean, these things are going to be a must wear around the poker rooms of these countries and more, if I'm being completely honest. So get them first while they're still in stock, guys. As we watch Chance Kornuth burn through his first 5 minutes of time on a hand.
Chance is fast, so he doesn't need his time bank.
There we go. Chance Kornuth starting to let go of his hand there, and we'll see where Thiago and Nishijima goes. And yeah, he goes for 600, like Jonathan Little so wisely predicted.
That's the spot where you see what a lot of amateur players do is they think, I'm going to min-raise all of my hands, or I'm going to make it 2.5 big blinds with all my hands. They don't think which position they're in. Your opponent's going to have a much harder time realizing their equity when they are out of position. But when you're out of position, it's really tough on you.
That's Chance Kornuth, guys.
And Xuan Lu again. Hello, players. Welcome. Big fold by Chance there with the King 5 offsuit. And so notice Thiago now min-raises on the button, right? Because now he doesn't care if his opponents call because they're going to be out of position. Okay. So notice Xuan Lu is actually sitting
Oh, nice. I think I'm getting it.
Up.
I think I just got back. I might be on camera. I'm not sure yet.
You're on, Chance.
Chance seems to be a master with computers. Yeah, you don't want to play the board. It's not such a good hand. But there's really not much of a purpose in betting here for Xuan. I mean, she would pick up the pot this time from Thiago. Thiago's probably thinking if he should bet. Wow, 7-7-7 with his 2 sevens. Interesting. He does bet, hoping to make Xuan fold out any one pair hand that he loses to. And here we go. Kevin Macphee set up again, right off the bat. We'll see if Anton 3-bets or calls. I imagine he's going to 3-bet, but some players call. The problem with 3-betting this is that you often make Kevin Macphee fold out hands like Ace-10. And sure enough, he folds Ace-Jack, right? And that really shows the problem with 3-betting hands versus early position raisers. They correctly realize that they should be pretty tight, and they correctly realize that if they're getting 3-bet, that person should be pretty tight. And that allows them to fold out stuff like Ace-Jack offsuit that is traditionally pretty strong. But very good fold by Kevin Macphee. Small pot here for Anthony Zinno. Anthony Zinno, I'm not going to say he's the opposite of Chance, but Chance takes lines that are very aggressive and uses them to have his advantage. Anthony sort of does the opposite. He takes somewhat passive lines that often lead to his opponents messing up. And then he'll sporadically check raise you out of your seat with nothing. So, well, here he gets aces, so let's see what happens here. Is he going to get Anton Wigg? Wow, and Kevin has pocket nines?
Wow.
Let's go Las Vegas Moneymakers one time.
Anton, kick things off, guys.
Because
Ace
saying
queen.
how he had one job to be ready before this match. So if you guys see a slow roll from Chance aiming at me or Anton, you knew it was coming.
Kevin Macphee may put in the 4-bet, but if he does 4-bet, I don't know what Anthony Zinno is going to do. He may like to just call, which would be pretty sweet. I'm sure, given the Las Vegas Moneymakers luck, a 9's going to come. But I think Kevin Macphee has had worse luck than the entire Moneymakers combined, given his 1 point over 3 aims. You can't do much worse than that.
Macphee elects to 4-bet here.
Well, Xuan's going to get out of the way. I think you have to.
And the first 4-bet of the day.
Good fold by Xuan. Notice he just easily gets out of the way. Sidesteps this debacle. So does Zinno call or re-raise? Like I said, Anthony Zinno is a bit of an enigma to the poker players, so they probably don't know what to expect from him. And I wouldn't know what to expect from him. I mean, for all we know, he could have 5-3 suited and just be getting blatantly out of line, even if he does put in the 5-bet. You want to make sure you don't get too cute and like min re-raise. I think that's often a little bit of fancy play syndrome. I think if you are going to re-raise, you can make it all in.
Oh, snap.
Or something like 9,000 or 8,000. Or just call. I think I would probably either call or shove, and I think I'd probably...
I don't even know if Anthony would have much here.
Like, nobody knows. Chance is thinking, oh, Anthony has Jack 3 offsuit.
Does Kevin get away here?
Well, they're putting in 125 big blinds pre-flop with pocket 9s. I think the answer is probably yes, but you sure are unhappy about this. Anthony may get paid off, though, because of that image that I just mentioned. Look at Chance. He's loving this.
We're hoping to lock up a point here if one of these players falls by the wayside.
I think Kevin just has to fold this, even if you think Anthony's crazy. Is he really 5-betting on the 5th hand of the tournament with nothing? For that reason, I think I may have actually preferred a call from Anthony Zinno. I think Kevin Macphee should probably consider folding hands like 10s and jacks and ace queen in the spot.
Very interesting.
Pretty easily.
Kevin gets to the right decision there.
So given I'm saying that Kevin should probably fold those hands, I think it makes a call from Anthony probably ideal. And you know, especially given that the Las Vegas Moneymakers need the maximum number of points, I think calling actually is better because, of course, you let your opponent outdraw you some portion of the time, but at the same time, that's going to give you the best chance to get a continuation bet out of your opponent, which will chip you up more. So if your goal is to lock up 1 point or 2 points, you should definitely shove there. But I think given these interesting payout structures and the league formats, perhaps Anthony should have called. But yeah, certainly can't fault him for shoving.
It's got to be one of the friendlier tables for GPL matches for sure.
Famous last words.
Yeah. See ya.
See you at the river. Chance for 10s on the button here.
Chance acts friendly, but I think he likes to fight. Here Thiago is going to put in the 3-bet.
Just elects to call.
Interesting just call. He probably doesn't want to be 3-betting a player like Chance because Chance is known to apply maximum aggression. And you really don't want to let someone apply maximum aggression when you have Queen-Jack offsuit. At the same time, though, it's really hard to play these types of hands from out of position. So I think Thiago's kind of stuck check folding, even versus this tiny bet. Notice if Chance does get called, often means he picked a pretty sweet bet size, but even then, if you can bet 500 and get overcards to your pair to fold, that's not a bad result.
Yeah.
So a bunch of garbage hands. Let's see if Thiago gets out of line. He does get a little bit out of line.
You know, had in that big battle.
Xuan defends the king deuce off. Join the chat on Twitch, folks. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like about the stream. Always looking for ways to improve the Global Poker League, improve the product.
Anton's gonna get it.
Xuan Lu picking up the ace-king suited. Gonna throw back the small blind here.
I imagine Anton should just fold this hand. Xuan made it a little bit small to where perhaps Anton could be calling. That's another spot, as we discussed earlier, where from out of position you often want to make it a little bit larger because you don't want to give your opponent great odds to call in position. And right there, for example, Anton needed to have 33% equity, give or take a little bit, based on her bet size. And he probably is, even with a hand as bad as 8-7 offsuit. You'll see a lot of the other players in the league peeling in that spot, just calling and seeing a flop. Certainly can't fault Anton for folding because his hand was actually pretty bad, but some people
chances on the move. Some sort of forming some sort of procedure on a laptop charger.
Someone has a baby. Everyone in the globe. This is like the global baby league.
Yeah,
it's a bunch of babies in here.
All right, the computer's not gonna die. I am on camera. Just talking to the people that are watching.
Kornuth has power.
Hello, Chance. Say hello to everyone. Does Chance have a kid?
Don't know.
I don't know either. Does Xuan have a kid? We hear Chance may be at a friend's house, who apparently has babies running around.
Chance is Moonlights is a babysitter outside of poker. Hasn't won enough in the last year or two to pay the bills.
I think he'd bet a lot of his air on the flop.
Anthony Zinno getting a little bit cagey. Notice Chance making the read that Zinno would probably bet a lot of his air on the flop, which means that when he doesn't bet, he likely has some sort of a marginal made hand or the nuts, and Chance does not fall for it.
We can confirm that neither of these players have any children. Any children you see or hear belong to someone else. Thank you, Eric Denis. Could be Uncle Chance or Auntie Xuan. Looking more likely to be Uncle Chance at the present time, judging by the composed nature of Xuan Lu.
Good read. You should try poker.
That's not the look of a woman who has 3-year-olds roaming the house. And that's not a house that has 3-year-olds roaming it.
Oh, those are cute.
So Zeno's opening a relatively loose hand, 8-5 suited. We see Anton just calling.
The picture. Thank you.
Chance Kornuth loving life on the GPL.
Yeah, Chance seems to have a good time. It's important to enjoy yourself.
This is week 10 of the GPL, guys.
Notice there's not much action with the ace-king. Let's go Zinno. Let's just run over these kids. Wow, and dog too.
Dogs and
they
kids.
just have it all. Kids and babies and dogs and trophies.
I mean, he could be around Jonathan Jaffy's house. That would
That's
make
true.
a lot of sense. Jake Cody.
So check back from Thiago peels the perfect turn. Not what Xuan wanted to see at all. Xuan wanted low cards. king is obviously a horrible card for her, and I think if Thiago bets, she should strongly consider getting off the hook. Sometimes you get bluffed by Jack 10 and Ace Queen, but a lot of those hands would still just check. So Xuan does stick around. Not such a bad river. You have to think Thiago would bet a lot of his top pairs on the flop. So if she was ahead on the turn, she was very likely ahead on the river.
Damn it. If he had bet, I think we would have gone for the check raise here.
Wow.
He tried to get thin dally with that king.
Seeing a tweet from Sean Deeb. To photobomb Chance's cards during his GPL match or not? That is the question. I think, I mean, that solves the mystery. And I think, it's a must, right? Sean Deeb on the GPL?
How is Chance always having a party of some sort? This is how he rolls? He's just always having a party? Notice Zinno just calls no problem on this flop. Somewhat wide peel on the flop, but I certainly don't mind it given Anthony has all the backdoor draws. And not what
against most
Zinno
opponents, I think we'd always have the best hand, but Anthony can be kind of tricky. Having said that, I think we can go ahead and safely value bet our queen here, and if he does anything crazy, we can evaluate.
This is the 5 minutes away.
That is not Sean Deeb.
One person to a hand, sir.
What sort of madhouse is this? Like kids, dogs, like
random men?
Men?
What else you got there? Next thing you know...
Told they're in Montreal by head of poker content, Eric Denny. Chance both these players could be playing from Montreal.
Thiago, a really good Brazilian player. Anton, Wigg, Xuan, Zinno, and Macphee. We spent the whole last 3 weeks with Zinno. Or with Macphee.
I didn't know he was in GPL.
Yeah, he's on New York's team there.
So here, let's see how Zinno plays the pocket eights. I would typically call in the spot, because if you re-raise and Anton sticks around, you're usually pretty unhappy, whereas if you call, you make it very hard for Anton to 4-bet you. And also, you can just play small pots with what is very likely to be a marginal hand after the flop.
Pretty nice flop for Zinno.
Yeah, great flop. At the same time, though, he is not going to love it if Anton bets a flop, turn, and river, which he may just decide to do with this king high to try to get Zinno off of various ace highs.
I can do this.
Chance is on the move. Grills.
We're good. All I gotta do is finish sweeping and this house is clean. Oh, delicious.
This place is already clean.
Anthony Zinno really tanking here. I'm not a big fan of this very long tank. I'm also not much of a fan of the raise because if Anton sticks around, I'm not sure if we can very confidently know that we have the best hand. So
Zinno raise that hand with.
Trouble for Anton Wigg here.
You just heard Chance say he was very surprised to see what Zinno raised that with, because really he should not be raising with much at all, because if he has a hand like eights and he's behind, he really wants to minimize the losses. And if he's ahead, he's often decently far ahead to where he can call a turn and or river bet. Thiago getting tricky and limping the ace-king. This could spell trouble for Anton, because Anton's likely to raise. Thiago's going to re-raise. And I don't see Anton getting away from this one. He may just call the 4-bet, or the limp 3-bet. 3-bet, yeah, 3-bet. Trying to count them. It's been a long day here on the Global Poker League. We showed up to the office, wow, about 9 hours ago. Is that accurate? Yeah, 9 hours ago we showed up. Well, I guess we all did here.
10 hours for some of us.
So as we see here, limp re-raise. And now Anton has to ask, can I realistically get it in here? And I don't think you're trying to shove. I think it's probably best to call to keep Thiago in with all of his bluffs. So he does get called, and tough flop. Even though Anton has middle pair with a good kicker, that is essentially a marginal bluff catcher here. He loses to any king X. And maybe there's some world where Thiago makes us play with king 3 suited or something like that.
Wow.
Wow,
Really
big
nice
fold from
laydown.
Anton. Maybe he thinks Thiago's not betting this flop with jacks. Maybe he thinks he would not bet with any queen. So if that's the case...
How often is Thiago limp 3-betting as a bluff there?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Sometimes...
Is it possible that Anton Wigg thinks that he just has no bluffs there?
The problem is if you think that, you're assuming that Thiago is very straightforward and face up. And Thiago has $6 million in live and online cashes. And that's just someone who is capable of bluffing some hands there. Or, maybe he just isn't. I don't know. It's tough to say.
Yeah. I guess Anton's stack size is pretty awkward there, facing a bet of 2,800. Would have left him around 14,000.
Yeah, it's a pretty snug fold. Well, the Sao Paulo Mets, they do need to lock up some points. They really don't want to take 0, so maybe that's a thought. Or maybe he just thinks that's a bad flop for him and he gets out of the way. Maybe he was looking for ace XX or queen XX, not king queen X. So let's see if Anton gets after it with the 7-5 suited. He does not. All right, Zinno, just fold. Let's go.
Wow.
Tight fold from Zinno as well. As your opponent start making it larger, like 2.5 or 3 big blinds.
Anton had there, but he's saying that he clicked call in that 3-bet pot with Thiago BVB.
Oh, wow.
And I guess the dealer took his cards.
So he was trying to call on the king queen something. Well, that's a super fortunate misclick or whatever it was, if that's the case.
And no wonder our analysis couldn't come up with a kind of perfect explanation for why it happened.
It's like, yeah, that was tight.
I feel slightly exonerated.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I don't understand poker. That's okay. I don't have to understand poker. Anton is known to be an absolute top of the line player. And if he thinks it's a fold, it's a fold. But now he says it was not a fold.
Well,
my bad.
Sometimes misclicks work out for the best.
So I was playing online this weekend, and I had pocket tens. My internet was not working very well because we're in Malta. And I timed out with pocket tens under the gun with something like a 10 big blind stack. And I was just so angry because I think we were down to something like 8 players in this turbo tournament. And I folded the tens. And I came back, and I saw them all in on that hand. And one guy had queens, and one guy had aces.
Ooh.
So I folded by accident. And then I ended up winning this tournament. So if I would have just been there and played normally, I would have lost. And that would have been that. I would have taken 7th or 8th place. Instead, I win. So thank you, Maltese Internet.
Thank you, Malta.
And there's another example where
Jonathan
Anton got
Little
saved.
and Malta, a match made in heaven.
Oh, yeah. Let's see if Chance decides to 3-bet. I kind of get the vibe Chance likes these spots. He seems to be a type of person who just goes for it every time. Like, maybe you're supposed to go for it in the spot half of the time or 70% of the time or something like that, but Chance just goes for it when I feel like it's 100% of the time. Let's see if Thiago blasts them all.
Shorties. Hopefully the queens come up on the replay sometime soon.
Thinking about something.
Yeah, I mean, it would be pretty optimistic for Thiago to get out of line in this spot, but cold 4-betting is strong. I don't think I would do it with Jack 9 offsuit. It seems like a very bizarre hand to do it with.
Yeah, there we go.
Wow, tight fold from Anthony Zinno. I'm not folding anything to Chance.
In position.
Especially king queen. I mean, it's quite a strong hand. Seems a little bit snug to me. But like I said, Anthony is the type of player who's a little bit more on the tighter and the passive side. And that's not necessarily bad, but it is perhaps not ideal versus Chance, especially if Chance is not going to blindly blast off versus you as soon as you do finally put a chip in the pot. So here Chance opens it up for the minimum. It's always a tough hand to defend from the big blind in Anton's shoes with that stack size. So not much in terms of premium hands, and whenever we get premium hands, someone misclicks and folds. So we may be here for a while.
Really tight, so I'm just going to keep the pedal to the floor until we get resistance. With these stack sizes, people don't want to shove their over 20 big blinds. John's been defending super wide. Normally it'd be a hard spot to see that, but I think her range is a little too wide right now, and I don't really think she'll check raise bluff me.
Check raise bluff from Xuan.
This is week 10 of the GPL, folks. 4 more weeks and GPL rolls on to Las Vegas for the playoffs.
Maybe we should just have the Jack 4 and fold.
Back in the queue, the players will go.
She did it. Don't mess with Xuan. Nice play.
Damn you, Xuan.
I mean, Chance is playing amidst a riot of some kind, so you know, his decision making could be hampered at times by the racket.
So you say that, but I actually think that a lot of the best players in the world, if they are not playing their absolute best, they're just kind of playing, they're just hanging out and playing. That's often quite a strong strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to get many of these players so far off their game to where they're just making huge blunders.
What about when there's a dog, there's a kid, you know, there's machine gun fire?
That's true. You know, I actually play in complete silence when I play. So I do kind of lose my mind when there's a bunch of stuff going on. But Chance seems perfectly fine. And if it's a party every day, yeah, it's just another day. That's how Chance rolls.
He looks like the kind of guy who could cope with you know, a couple of waifs and strays hanging out.
So Anthony min raises small blind. Remember, this is what I said I'm not much of a fan of because you let your opponent defend incredibly wide. And it looks like Zinno may get punished here. So the good thing about the party going on in Chance's place is that Roland can make all the noise behind the booth he wants, and no one will have a clue. We'll just blame it on Chance. That's Roland having some water. Did you hear that? You can't tell because there's a party going on in Chance's place. So
it's also about 380 degrees here in the GPL studio, guys.
So we had a bet and a call, and Zinno hopefully is getting out of the way. Hopefully he doesn't check raise or anything incredibly aggressive. And Zinno does get out of the way with a minimal loss. Pocket eights. We may see some action. Ace queen and pocket eights. If Zinno re-raises this, we could see an aggressive line from Thiago of going all in, given the stacks are starting to get a little bit shorter.
So I'll just fold this. I think. It's really tight, but it's going to be tough to play out of position.
I actually like Chance's fold or his. Wow.
Zinno click again. This one's smaller than when he had aces. I'd imagine he's weaker this time. Maybe like a queen jack type of hand. Ace jack, who knows?
Who knows? Interesting line from Zinno. I'm not sure the purpose of this. Maybe one benefit of this is it will make Thiago slow down with his ace queen. Maybe he's not going to be very happy to get it in. I don't know. I mean, I have no experience making these small bets. I don't know what they're going to induce people to do. Similar flop to earlier when Zinno had pocket eights, and it came something like this.
6-6-3, I believe it was.
He may be able to get a little bit of value on this board. I would definitely bet small if I was in Zinno's shoes, but let's see what he does. Zinno's the 3-time WPT champion here. He does go small. And he gets floated.
The fairly safe card, Zinno. It hasn't brought an overcard, which is.
The big problem here is that Thiago could just have queens and be a little bit paranoid that Zinno may have aces with his men 3-bet. And this is what happens when you 3-bet with stuff like eights, is that you don't really know where you stand, even when you should conceivably have the best hand. So standard card for the Las Vegas Moneymakers.
Yeah, Zinno running like his, in keeping with the rest of his team, and the queen peels. Interesting whether Thiago Nishijima leads into Zinno here. Decent spot for a lead.
I don't know. I think Zinno is probably going to call with a lot of his pairs. But at the same time, if Zinno has ace-king, he's just going to check behind on the river anyway. So I think you probably do want to value bet this. And Zinno, I think, has a very clear check. Notice, like, pocket jacks isn't going to fold here. I don't think you're going to be able to bluff those hands. I mean, if you think pocket jacks is going to fold, then perhaps you should be betting, but I'm not a big fan of that. Well, so notice if Zinno thinks if he bets he wins this hand like 100% of the time, but if he checks that he wins maybe 80% of the time, well, then betting's just better. But notice here, Thiago could just have ace-queen, as he does, and now Zinno's value owning himself.
Imagine this get called pretty swiftly, this bet. Can't see it going down any other way.
Thiago's, I mean, maybe considering a raise. I would definitely not raise in this spot. Maybe he's reading into Zinno's bet sizing, thinking that this is obviously a marginal made hand, and that is what he does. He decides to go for the raise.
Wow.
So he is reading into Zinno's bet size.
Really interesting hand.
Absolutely.
And now Zinno's just in a mess. An absolute mess. and I mean, this is the kind of stuff, the spots that Zinno gets himself in by making some of these plays, and he probably just makes the right play a lot of the time.
Yeah, it feels like the hand was kind of destined to play out pretty weird when the tiny 3-bet came in.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this in the Global Poker League a few times where someone will make a small 3-bet or a huge 3-bet or something abnormal. And when you take these abnormal lines, you put people out of their comfort zone, and bizarre things tend to happen. Now, what's going to happen is Anthony Zinno is going to raise, and Kevin Macphee is either going to go all in or re-raise, and then I think we're going to be seeing a flip. And kind of interestingly, Kevin Macphee of the New York Rounders needs some points. And Anthony Zinno of the Las Vegas Moneymakers needs some points. And one of these two players is going to get no points.
Well, we saw Jonathan Duhamel fail to win a flip in the previous game. Snap fold there by Zinno.
Zinno does not like calling all ends with king-queen or aggressive lines. That's lucky for Kevin Macphee because he understands that if he gets called, he just loses, right? He knows that he has a 6, a 6, and a 5th. He's thinking, thank God he didn't call me.
On the flip side, Zinno should know that Macphee does not run well in the...
Right. Just call him with anything. Who cares?
Well, I mean, you know, a moneymaker against Kevin Macphee, I mean...
Yeah, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah, who wins there? Like, can both players lose?
So interesting by Thiago there with the ace-9 offsuit. Anton Wigg does not go crazy.
Question for Jonathan Little from SJ Davis 94. Why do you believe Negreanu or Ivy weren't selected? Were they not willing to play?
Well, they were not in the draft.
Yeah.
If you weren't in the draft pods or the draft league, if you did not opt in, you could not be drafted, and they did not opt in.
And Phil Ivey would have had to have been selected as a wild card because he was not in the GPI 1000 at the time of the draft.
You have to be in the top 1,000 players according to the Global Poker Index. And if you play a decent amount of tournament poker, you'll probably be in it if you're playing on the high stakes on a regular basis. But Phil Ivey has not been playing the tournaments for a few years now.
Yeah,
and so he was not even eligible. But someone could have selected him as a wild card. And I believe that if you are eligible, and if you're in the top 1,000 and you do not make yourself eligible, you cannot be selected as a wild card.
Correct.
So, for example, say Negreanu really wanted to be on the Canada team, and Canada had like last pick in the first round, and they thought they would not be able to get Negreanu. Negreanu could not sit out of the draft and then get drafted as a wild card.
Yeah,
assuming he's in
correct.
the top 300 or top 1,000, which I assume he is.
I mean, you have to give the players in the top 1,000 a fair chance to be selected for each team.
Right.
You know, according to the draft order. Whereas that situation, allowing player to become interested
Just shove here.
following the draft would open up, you know, unfair opportunities.
This would be a sizable shove from Xuan, but it's probably fine with her exact holding. Zinno for 20 big blinds should probably fold, thinking Xuan has a lot of pairs and a lot of medium pairs and a lot of
That
ace
way,
10,
if Anthony
ace
has
9, ace
anything
8.
decent, we're almost always racing against him, so he might be more inclined to fold out some of the hands that we don't want to be racing against.
Good analysis there.
Whereas if he 3-bet jams on us, we definitely have to call it off. So,
Or she's thinking if she min raised.
I'm
and
not
Zinno
sure
shoved.
if it's more profitable to raise call on this spot or to jam, but it can't be bad.
The one benefit of min raising and then calling off is that maybe Zinno shoves ace 2 and ace 3 and ace 4 that will fold to your all in. I know there were a few poker players who were
If
in
the
the
stronger hand, we definitely just make it a standard size and call it off.
So there were a few players in the GPI top 1,000 who were a little bit lackadaisical and forgot to opt into the league because that's how some poker players roll. And then they were surprised when they could not be taken as a wild card because, why not? And the reason is because every team needs a fair chance to draft the people who are the best players in the world. So very big raise from Zinno. Perhaps he's doing this to try to get chance to fold out instead of defend with a wide range like he probably would.
Trouble potentially for Anton Wigg here.
Yeah, so someone's saying there's a picture of Daniel on the Global Poker League site. He was actually commentating the draft. I believe him and Phil Hellmuth were both commentating, but they were not actually in the draft.
Yeah, Daniel Negreanu obviously has a busy kind of schedule of things beyond poker. And,
here we're going to see
yeah,
some action.
Over his all-in.
I like this call from Xuan.
Maybe someone does something crazy here.
My general strategy is to call if it is more than a 6 big blind all in and to minimum re-raise if it's less than a 6 big blind all in. That's my strategy.
Ace needed for Anton. Bomb.
No.
There it is. 2 out of now for
Anton
Xuan.
running
She'll
so
be the
good.
shortest stack. Really
First, you misclick
kind of
folds.
demonstrative of how things can turn around. King needed. Doesn't come.
Nice hand.
Double up for Anton. Xuan is now the short stack. After playing perfect poker with that particular hand.
Yeah, don't fold kings. Here, Anthony Zinno gets his least favorite hand, apparently.
Yeah.
King, queen again. Maybe he fancies
Suited
the
this
suited
time, so
version.
yeah, maybe he won't lay it down.
Folded to Thiago's going to put a lot of pressure on. So I'm going to play tight. This ICM pressure.
Chance play tight? No, he's not. No one believes that for a second. Anton, I was going to say, he could conceivably shove, but I don't think that's a good idea. He just folds, though. That's a little bit of a snug fold. Anton seems to not like defending the blind quite as much.
Yeah, you can free change, but you have to go change it on everything.
Zinno with 2 sevens under the gun.
Again, likely to get no action.
22 big blinds.
So full 3x raise. I suppose he's doing this to try to discourage much action, but the problem with discouraging action is that when you get action, you're often in much worse shape compared to when you make it smaller. So you have to be careful with that. I mean, there's certainly merit in picking up the pots where you have the best hand. But at the same time, you don't want to make such a big raise where your opponents have to play well. Like, for example, you could just raise to 5 big blinds pre-flop. But then your opponents are only going to play with good hands, and those good hands have a hand like pocket sevens and marginal shape. Wow, big shove from Thiago. That's a spot where it's only a 20-something big blind shove into Anton, so it's probably fine, but that is a play that the big stack can make a high percentage of the time. And I wouldn't be surprised if he shoves here again with the ace-king offsuit, although this hand's probably strong enough to be happy min-raising. You want to be shoving hands such that, or the hands that if you raise and get shoved on, you're not happy. Those are the hands you typically want to be shoving because they are profitable to shove, but the alternative lines are usually not so great. Here, the alternative line of min-raising and then calling off is fine with ace-king, but you don't really want to min-raise and then call off with king-jack or ace-2 or pocket threes. So let's see if Kevin peels. He does not. Looks like these players are very aware of the payout implications. And they're really trying to get some points. We've seen quite a few somewhat tight blindfolds, at least tight in my opinion.
Yeah.
Looks like we're going to be all in. do this.
Is the shove going to get through for Xuan? To follow up her win in the first match in the Americas 6 Max tonight. She added 7 points to the title of the Montreal Nationals.
Here we go. We may get called by Thiago. Or, you know, if Zinno raises regular, Kevin Macphee could conceivably shove. These ace-x suited are actually not bad hands to shove if you have fold equity, meaning your opponent has enough chips behind to where they can conceivably fold with some portion of their range, because when you do get called, you still have a decent amount of equity. Notice here, Zinno went from 3xing it to min-raising it. I don't know if that's going to send off alarm bells in any of these players' minds. Notice Kevin Macphee just got right out of the way, no problem. I mean, I would have a hard time thinking Thiago's going to get out of the way. He may just call, though. You have to be very careful varying your raise size. I don't know if Anthony's doing this based on his stack size or his hand strength, but if it's based on his stack size, if it's based on his hand strength, I think it's a pretty big error. But if it's based on his stack size, I don't think it's much of an error at all.
I guess no.
You usually don't want to be varying your play too much based on your actual hand strength. You can based on your range's strength, but you don't want to be doing it based on your exact hand very often, because that becomes somewhat face up to your opponents. And these players all play great, right? It's not like we're playing against amateur players who don't recognize that you went from 3xing, 3xing, 3xing to min-raise. So notice here, Thiago gets right off the hook, where perhaps he would not get off the hook if Zinno made his standard raise size. But who knows? Maybe he just got the free one extra big blind.
I mean,
notice there, Thiago getting off the hook versus the Xuan all-in.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if these guys are privy to the hands that have been played up till now, they'll notice that Zinno has been playing pretty snug. You know, we've seen him fold King, Queen on at least a couple of occasions.
That is true.
And yeah, it could be affecting. I mean, Kevin seemed to, you know, throw away the ace-3 suited pretty quickly there, and Thiago, you know, didn't seem too interested at all with the ace-9, just peeling and sort of quickly check folding.
Well, it's kind of interesting. If you think that Zinno's going to raise and then fold hands like King, Queen, or ace-7, you might as well shove the ace-3.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of fold equity. But I think once Zinno and Macphee both get this short, there's probably not a whole lot of fold equity to be had. So great flop for Xuan Lu. She's playing it a bit slow. I like that a lot. Check, check on the turn. If it goes check, check through the river, and the river's somewhat safe, I would definitely like an all-in bet from Xuan. You can make an all-in bet here representing the various busted draws. But the problem here is Thiago's range is likely very weak. He could just have a king, though. If he has a king, you want to get full value.
Will he look me up late?
That is the question.
You should probably always fold to jam like this. On this kind of texture.
Xuan goes for it.
Yeah, it's hard to get paid. But if she ever
should have made it a smaller size.
She could do this with hands like 9-8 and steal the pot a decent amount of the time. So she certainly has. She could make some bluffs if she's going to play her nut hands that way. So there she's giving up, perhaps getting called a lot of the time by betting small to instead steal the pot sometimes when she does have a bluff. Anton will most likely be all in, but maybe he does something fancy.
Goes for it.
Barbecue's delicious.
Notice there you have to ask, which hands would Zinno really want to call with or re-raise small with in that spot that are not premium hands? And the answer is just nothing. So when that's the case, you probably want to shove, as Anton did.
Hand 46, and still haven't lost a player, so getting shallower here.
Yeah, starting stack is 20 big blinds. So that means that some players are going to have 15 or 10 big blinds. So they're all in.
2 minutes away from 8-16. Should be a level where you see at least 1 or 2 eliminations.
Pocket aces for Anton. He is likely going to raise. I think Xuan should probably get off the hook. So, wow, Thiago gets out of line. So now the question is, are there any hands that Anton would want to call within this spot? And I still think the answer is probably no. I think he's probably deep to where he can get cute with a small re-raise, but it's hard to find a lot of bluffs he'd want to have in his range here. Like, is he ever doing this with ace-10 offsuit as a bluff? Is he ever re-raising with ace-jack as a bluff? I don't know. It's kind of hard to put in 5,800 and then fold to a shove. So he does re-raise.
Here, I don't want to.
And here, if you're Thiago, you just have to accept that your steal failed.
Sean Deeb, guys, on the GPL.
World famous Sean Deeb. It looks like he's having a party right now.
Probably on break for some taking down some W coops.
2 kings for Xuan. Zinno could get in trouble here if Xuan min raises. But Zinno just quickly folds. Kevin Macphee should probably be folding that bad. Ace-X. And now Thiago's in the same spot he was in earlier where he has to peel with a junky hand and try to flop something. But he does not. The chat box is berating Chance for being so tight. You will probably never see that again.
These guys are pretty well versed on optimal 6 max GPL strategy by now, knowing the 6th place, is pretty disastrous.
Well, at some point, we're going to see it all in here.
Yeah.
And like I said, either the Rounders or the Las Vegas Moneymakers are going to be having a bad day. Las Vegas Moneymakers had 0 points in the first game. They could have 0 points again. Kevin Macphee.
These guys can't.
He may not get drafted again next year if he puts up a total of 1 point.
I feel this might run out of chop.
To be fair, Kevin Macphee has 9 points in heads-up matches, so it's not like he has no points. Yeah, let the guys chop it up. I mean, they've been put through enough.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You heard it here first.
Make it fun. Give Las Vegas a set on the flop and then chop it up.
Kevin and him saving 1 chip always.
So you actually have to be careful with that 1 chip thing because sometimes you misclick or you time out or you get disconnected or something happens where you have to click call now and Kevin somehow his finger slips and he clicks fold. So be careful with fancy plays like this.
Kevin's gone into the tank for his last one.
Maybe we can have Kevin on the webcam at some point and ask him why he does the 1 chip. I understand leaving back like 3 big blinds because then you can conceivably check it down.
Safe flop for Zinno here. Ace or king needed for Macphee. Oh!
Hearts
for Zinno. The only redemption. We'll be down to 2,000
Nice
chips.
double
And
cam.
the Las Vegas Moneymakers cannot win a flip here on the GPL. Jonathan Duhamel tried it with ace-queen. Couldn't connect. And Zinno getting run down on the turn there. The only saving grace being that he's left 1 big blind, which is going to pump in with the jack-8 off.
So given this format and how short the other players are, I think this is actually a fold under the gun. I know that may seem a little bit snug to suggest, but if you win this hand, you have to win the next hand as well. So by doing this, you have to win 2 hands in a row, whereas if you just fold this hand, now you only have to win 1 hand in a row. And well, there's some chance that these players bust themselves, and then you get a point for free.
Interesting spot here. McPhee's obviously elected to 3-bet pretty small, and Charles Kornuth and Thiago Nishijima behind him have genuine decisions here.
Saw your dad already. Okay.
Right, it's like notice if Zinno just folded here, most likely Kevin would have raised. And maybe there was some crazy action. And notice Thiago does go for it. Kevin Macphee has to fold at this point. He's probably very annoyed he put in 5,500. Or, maybe he thinks that Thiago's trying to push him around, but I think that would be really optimistic. Let's give the Moneymakers a jack, please. Or a 9. Give us a set for fun.
It's not the gut shot you want to flop in this spot. Kornuth seeing he would have flopped the top pair.
All right, that sounds about right.
That's all for Anthony Zinno, and a double donut for the Las Vegas Moneymakers in this 6-max. Really can't catch a break here. Really unfortunate there for Anthony Zinno. Got it in good at the end of the day in a flip with Ken Macphee and the ace coming on the turn to crush the Las Vegas Moneymakers. And my co-presenter, Jonathan Little, really looking pretty despondent across the booth.
Is it more impressive that Brian Rast won 2 in a row or that the Las Vegas Moneymakers took 6th 2 in a row? Which is the more impressive accomplishment?
Well, I mean, theoretically, I think you've got to be
They're inverse.
Well, yeah, and you've got to be confirmed good to win. Win 2 in a row, whereas a bad player could easily lose 2 in a row.
Well, maybe we're just the worst.
No, I mean we just seen the cards not go the way of the Las Vegas Moneymakers.
In the whole division, we now have the fewest number of points by 7 points.
Yeah,
this is so depressing. Why am I here? I should be there playing for my team.
Yeah, but you were here to distance yourself from your team.
I'm playing next week. We got to get some points. All right, so tough luck for Anthony Zinno. Not much he could have done there. He had a few spots with the king queens where maybe he could have.
Yeah, was a little
gambled
snug
a bit
from
more.
Zinno actually.
Yeah, Zinno played a bit snug, and he got it in flipping, which is fine. But
yeah,
tough luck for the Las Vegas Moneymakers. I'm not going to say they're out of the playoffs, but well, there's 3 more weeks. Is that accurate? So if they run the table, they can get
4 more weeks after today.
4 more weeks after today. Okay, we're not dead yet. We're just on the respirator. So
Yeah.
open raise from Anton.
Defibrillator needed for the Moneymakers, or maybe the reintroduction of Jonathan Little.
Yeah.
I mean,
I was supposed to go on vacation next week, but maybe I'm playing the Global Poker League instead.
I'm sure the GPL commentators booth run good has been well documented so far. Griffin Benja, November 9er. Sam Grafton, 24th at EPT Barcelona, the biggest EPT of all time.
Chris Moneymakers telling me in my Las Vegas Moneymaker chat, why does the site hate us? It's a good question.
Address those queries to Max Rabinovich, the GPL.
Yeah, it's his fault. Will you please stop turning the button, Max, to be bad for the Moneymakers? Yeah, he says yes. Okay, all right, next week.
Confirmed improvement in the fortunes of the Moneymakers. Bad flop here for Thiago. Is going to hope to see a hard card that will scare him off this pot. It's flop top pair. Probably a card that will cause him to lose at least 1 more street. Certainly doesn't want to see a jack. Anton almost certainly going to bet again at this one. Value and protection. It's just under half pot. You see some of these time banks getting a little bit low just by virtue of the fact that we're 5-handed after 53 hands.
But whenever someone busts, that player's time gets chopped up.
Redistributed, as we see the introduction of Kevin Macphee in one of the worst lit rooms that we've seen on the GPL.
Yeah, how do you make the lighting that bad?
I mean, I'm squinting in front of the screen, just trying to confirm that is Kevin Macphee.
This is what a human looks like after grinding online poker for a month straight.
Yeah, if Kevin was to pull back that curtain, he'd literally be blinded. He's having to ease his way back into, civilian life.
I played online poker for the last 3 days straight. It was brutal. I'm glad I had to get up and go to a job at the Global Poker League. Otherwise, I probably just sat in my room and played more online poker. It's good to get outside after you play an online session. I'm here in Malta.
Especially when you're in Malta, Jonathan.
Yeah, so I'm here in Malta. I told myself I was going to get up and go walk around the city every day. But then I play poker until 7 a.m. I go to bed. I wake up at like noon. I roll out of bed. There's a tournament starting in 1 minute. It's like, oh, I better hop in that tournament. Then I sat there till 7 a.m. the next day. So I did that for a few days. Now, I didn't get to see Malta. But I won some money.
Yeah.
Was it worth losing 3 days of my life? Probably not. If I won in a tournament, if I won some huge amount, I would probably feel differently.
This is the penultimate night, regrettably, that I'll be joined by Jonathan Little.
I'm going back home on Thursday. So tomorrow is my last day.
1 more night, guys.
If you enjoyed me here on the Global Poker League, tell them, send them emails, let them know you want me back. Give me a full-time position here on the Global Poker League. Here we have 2 hands. Kevin Macphee may catch all the run bad if he loses this one. Notice one of his queens is dead.
Queens against 9s here, folks. Kevin holding. Holding on the turn as well.
Wow, so lucky for Kevin McPhee.
Kevin McPhee eliminates a player on the GPL 6 max. And he's locked himself up 2 points.
More than his first 3 6-handed games combined. Tough luck for Thiago. Nothing he could have done there. Obviously, perfectly standard
rough
shove.
spot there for Thiago. A 3rd and a 5th for him. A pretty reasonable showing. He's been a player who's performed well throughout the GPL. We'll be seeing him again on Saturday, playing against Scott Ball from TwitchCon for the Sao Paulo Metropolitans. Tune into that, folks, on Saturday evening. More to come on that. Make sure you follow our Twitter at GPL. And, like us on Facebook, the Global Poker League. Could be some action here with a chance picking up 2 aces on the button.
We're going to jam
Xuan
it in Kevin's face.
Could be saved by the
That's
virtue
the
of the fact
big
that
stack right now.
Kevin's
He should be
raised.
applying a lot of pressure to us. Oh, man.
Kevin is always folding.
Wow.
Maybe he just...
So Xuan's going to get off the hook with the ace-jack. That is fantastic for her.
Kevin should get away from this pretty comfortably.
Oh, man, oh, man. I have to get back in the game. Stop being depressed, Jonathan Little. There's always next season.
Season 2, Jonathan. And talking of Season 2, Sean Deeb, folks. Almost certainly going to be featuring in Season 2 after seeing how much fun Chance Kornuth's having. We've gone all in.
So many outs. 6.
Big flop for Xuan. Gets
6.
4 more outs. Oh, there she is.
That's
Oh, yeah.
Locking up
Winning flips.
this hand on
yeah,
the
it kind of
turn.
sucks calling with deuces, but
Kevin is drawing dead.
just shoving pretty wide, 10 big blinds, a lot of dead money in there. Pretty big mistake to fold any pair there, I think.
I completely agree. Hand's just too good. Mainly because you're getting pot
We have
odds.
another pair.
Another cooler here.
Wow.
Nice hand.
This is how it happens for Kevin McPhee.
Kevin's respite was short-lived here on the GPL.
They gave him a few points.
Oh!
Nice.
Anton Wigg.
Wow.
Decides to shove here.
Here we go again.
Xuan's going to be over the top. And Kevin, what's he
wow.
do here?
2 alls.
What a miserable spot for 20 big blinds each.
I mean, I think I'm supposed to go with it.
You know,
Wow, but then I get pay jumps.
yeah, I think you got to fold Kevin
Pretty sick.
because of the pay jumps. And what's going to happen here is either Xuan or Anton's going to be the huge
Wow.
stack, and then Kevin and Chance are both going to
2
be
all
short.
ins, and I got 10s.
Jack 10, potentially.
You can easily get away from this one, I think. Look at Chance. He's thrilled. He's loving it.
Maybe a suited ace. Small suited ace.
Wow, that's sick. She just snapped it into you. Such a strong hand. I'm gonna go with it.
Kevin's going to make the call. Could be heads up here.
Wow, big mistake. Shit. Queens.
Nice.
I see him
One
punt
more
for
card.
me. Oh well. 10?
Yes. Oh, yeah. This
Rebel up
game's
for
easy.
Xuan
That's
Lu.
too bad.
Double knockout.
Good game, guys.
Look at the smile on Chance Kornuth's face.
Chance Kornuth just got 2nd place, and he played like a nit, just like he said he was going to do. Chance has played 3 hands throughout the entire tournament, and he's going to get 2nd place. Well played by Chance, just the master. All right. We better put our clothes back on here in the booth.
Yeah,
Game could be over very
things
quickly.
are getting a little loose back here in the booth from the uniform standpoint. I mean, Jonathan weren't expecting quite such an abrupt end to things, or abrupt heads up. So we're shuffling our clothing back on.
Why are you checking back this flop, Chan?
So because Kevin McPhee had fewer chips than Anton to start that hand, Kevin McPhee got 4th place.
That's
So
a pretty decent card.
2
for
points
us.
for the rounders. And then Anton picked up the 3 points for the San Francisco Rush. So actually, very similar payouts to the previous spots. I'm sorry. So it was third and fourth, not fourth and fifth. I apologize.
I just shoved earlier.
But we will be seeing a 1 and 2 for the
Here,
Sunset and the
it's
Nationals.
trapping.
The same two teams that won the first game.
Romping away with it.
And Xuan Lu, she may scoop a loop 2 in a row.
On the flop, and definitely king.
She's got all the chips.
Yeah.
The only hands he should be checking back are 7s and 4s. So we're gonna try and get him to pull the 7 here, or like a medium-sized pair.
Wow, Xuan bluffs.
Wow.
Xuan bluffs and gets called by worse. She must not know chance.
This is the Xuan Lu show tonight.
Even when she value bet, or even when she bluffs, she's still value betting. I'm gonna tell you all a secret if you're gonna play against Chance. He does not like to fold. Even though he's only played 3 hands so far.
That was really weird, because I saw that he called, but then I won. And I wasn't really expecting to with bottom pair, so I thought he'd just break the draw or something. So that was a pretty cool result.
One time I ran a huge bluff in a World Poker Tour event with something like pocket 3s on some high card board. I shoved the river, and my opponent just like instantly called. I'm like, well, I'm out. And then I turned my hand and was like, no, that's good. Then he showed ace king. We're going to see an all-in a call here. Xuan Lu in great shape to win.
I'm good at these lately.
Come on.
We'll need a queen or running diamonds.
Or a diamond at least.
There's
Okay.
a diamond.
A good turn. 4.
One diamond.
27% for Xuan.
Diamond.
Win this 1 in 4 times.
Chance called it.
Back to the drawing board.
Double up for Chance Kornuth. To about 16 big blinds. Xuan all in again.
Looks like she's gonna try to keep the pedal going. I think she'll let us limp too much. We'll see here quickly.
So interesting Chance has assigned a limp with this 9-3 offsuit. If your opponent will let you limp, it's fine to limp with all this garbage. But you can't get too out of line limping absolute trash. But the limp bet, I mean, if we've seen one thing from heads up poker, limping and then betting the flop for 1 big blind is a strong strategy.
Looks like she's considering shoving. She's considering her calling. Oh, she's folding. I'll take it.
Yeah, the opposite of the first two. So if Chance limps this, we may see some action.
Last time I raised, I had ace 10. Hopefully she thinks my limping range is a little weaker and shoves it in lighter.
Here we go.
Trapped her.
Chance.
Great job by Chance.
Okay.
Chance is going to slow roll.
Remember to slow roll. It's always a bright side of.
Is this how you want to come second, Chen?
Chance with a great spot
Nice
to.
trap.
sweaty.
Xuan deserves it. When you get slow
5s
roll,
and
you
4s
deserve
are
it.
good for us.
7 of clubs
I
for
mean,
fun.
how could I not?
Maybe an 8.
Right.
Queen of hearts type
7.
of hand.
Queen of
Alright.
hearts?
Oh,
Are you kidding?
Too many out syndrome
Okay.
strikes for Xuan Lu there.
Chance
And,
called the last 2 rivers somehow.
Back to almost even here.
He asked for a 4, he got a 4. He asked for a queen of hearts, he got the queen of hearts. Interesting.
Nice comeback from Chance.
All right, Xuan has to make sure she doesn't get flustered after getting slow rolled, after getting perhaps induced into shoving.
Missing all the outs.
Missing all the outs that as well.
Poker Rat 8999. Please hire Mr. Jonathan Little. Best commentator you can have. Get him while you can. There you go.
Well, thank you. I do my best.
I'm going to try and chain him to the to his commentary chair
I'd love to work
tomorrow.
here. I think it'd be a sweet job. So interesting big bet by Chance, trying to get full value from a 10 or a queen high.
That's a pretty good river. She just always has a 10.
Come on, Chan. I know my queen high is good.
Wow.
Really?
It's hard for me to have much. I don't think she's going to fill the full house to me. So, I think big is best.
I mean, whatever, I guess.
Chance sure does not think that she has a queen high and is
There's a lot of
contemplating.
king and queen highs there. Maybe I should bet smaller, get called from king and queen high.
Could see a big pot here. Chance decides to 3-bet this. But
Raising range is going to be too wide. Let's just keep it in. It's a good board to call one if she bets small. Maybe 2, depending on the terms.
Flush draw for Chance.
Chance may lead in the spot because he can make a lot of marginal hands fold. We've seen this from a lot of Global Poker League players. When the middle and the bottom card pair, they like the lead. Because Xuan would often check behind with middle pair on the flop. So here's that play in action again. There's one of our strategy segments on this exact play.
And this is a spot where it's going to work.
Well, you don't know that.
I just have a ton of jacks in my range. I don't think she's betting a jack on the flop.
Xuan's a non-believer.
Sticky.
And I'm going to make a fold. Ace is checking. She's been folding the big bets. There's a lot of value in getting her shorter right now. About 15 big blinds would be able to be shoving. She might turn a 5 into a bluff. She could just have some random queen she bluffs with. I would not fold to a shove.
Well, everyone's so happy for Chance.
But my hand's not good enough to slow roll with, unfortunately.
You have to have a good hand to slow roll.
I don't know. Chance, you're so full of shit.
That's the problem with playing against Chance, is you just think he never has it.
You just have a jack here.
Let's ship him over here.
Alright, I guess you're not calling the flop with nothing.
Good fold by Xuan. It's hard to believe Chance. It may look like that call would be pretty insane, but I would certainly not falter for looking Chance up. A lot of the various king highs did miss. It's important to note.
Yeah, well, I predicted she'd let go of the 3s on the turn, so I was way off with my understanding of how the hand was going to play out.
You don't know Chance. You never played with Chance. Chance is, imagine the most bonkers player you could possibly play against, and that's generally Chance.
Flush draw for Xuan.
Since I've been bluffing her, or she might think I'm bluffing her a lot, I don't think she'll fold here, so I need to check this back.
Good
I think she'd call me again with king high or deuce or 3, so it's a good spot to only fire 1.
Great awareness by Chance there.
The flop intentions to fold out like jack and 10, queen high, that type of hand.
This is why Chance is one of the great players, because he knows how his opponents are going to react. Like, he knows when to get out of line and when not to get out of line. And he knows that Xuan is probably getting a little flustered, and when they get a little bit flustered...
Wide, this hand doesn't flop best. I'm probably just going to rip it in. Wow, call. Old deception here.
Interesting. John selects to check his option with that ace-5 suited.
I think that's okay. I don't think you have to raise from out of position. I'm a big fan of checking.
There's never any easy pots with Chance because he literally fights for everything.
Chance elects to check raise here. No. I'm going to let it go.
So
that could have been a huge pot, but it was not.
My hand turns okay as far as the 9 and 8 bluff catchers and stuff, so I'm just going to knuckle this one back. She's also shut it up doing this.
To knuckle one back means to check, because that is how you touch the table with your knuckles.
She might call. She might call with some king highs or worse ace high.
Okay.
There's certainly value in this bet from Chance's point of view. A lot of 5s will call.
But my hand looks like ace high, so she doesn't expect me to bet this. So now, she already showed she'd lead value on earlier streets here. So I guess you could have some king queen. She'd probably just pile. I guess it's too thin to bet for value, so I'll just check. Dang it, I knew it.
How?
Didn't raise the ace 5, but I want to play a pot here.
Notice here, Chance is using strategy to now try to force Xuan to fold a lot of stuff when he has garbage. And when he doesn't have a garbage, he's checking to make sure she sticks around in the pot. Because you can't get any value if your opponent folds, you just pick up a small pot.
Chips could go in here.
I think this is a call from Xuan.
Nice. Value shove. Let's get it.
Safe flop for Chance there. Backdoors needed.
Okay.
That's one of them.
10,
Spade River, we
10,
win every time.
10.
And that's it, folks. Good game, Xuan.
Good game.
Ran great on all ends.
He ran great in all ends. That pretty much sums it up.
That is it, folks. Chance Kornuth there, taking that one down. The second match in the Americas Six Max. We hadn't had a double winner in the Six Max tonight, and well, we hadn't had it before tonight, sorry, and we got it with Brian Rast. Thought we were going to get it again with Xuan Liu. Really had Chance Kornuth, pegged back and in a big chip disadvantage, but yeah,
chance happened.
Yeah, then chance happened.
Sometimes you play against chance and he just wins. I mean, he had to win 2 all ins to make it happen, and he did it.
Yeah, and a really interesting performance from Chance. I think you noted didn't really do much in the early stages. Just was content to ladder up. I mean, wasn't really getting too many hands, but certainly didn't play the usual kind of Chance Kornuth that we expected to see. And then really sort of got fortunate and then sort of put Xuan to the sword at the end.
Well, you saw how he really didn't have much happening, and he actually said, I'm going to hang out, try to ladder up a few points, get a few points for my team so that we stay firmly in second place and go from there. And then he got pretty lucky that there was an all-in from King 9 for 20 big blinds, a call from Pocket Queens, and another call from Pocket 10s. And just like that, he's heads up.
Yeah.
And from there, he ran pretty hot, won his all-ins, and won the tournament.
Yeah, so maximum points there for the LA Sunset. Commiserations to Xuan Liu, who picks up second place. Really nice performance from Xuan tonight. So yeah, really kind of successful night for the two teams who were at the top of the league already. I believe we're going to go over to Laura Cornelius in the lounge, and she might be talking with our winning player. Over to you, Laura.
Thank you so much, Roland and Jonathan. Congratulations to LA Sunset and Chance Kornuth there, taking the 7 points for Maria Ho's side. I'm hoping that Chance is on the line. Do we have him there? Woohoo! Well, Chance, you showed us a masterclass in laddering there, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, that was great when I went all in with the Queen's 10s, King 9 hand, and just all of a sudden I was heads up and won a couple all-ins.
We saw it on your face how excited you were in that hand.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty perfect situation when you're one of the, well, I think I was the shortest stack and first woke up and stacked second and third, so it was great.
Last time we saw you in Vegas, you couldn't walk, you had crutches, we had to give you a chair. How's your foot?
It's actually not really healing. I've been playing too much poker, exploring Europe and walking around, and lost the ankle bracelet I'm supposed to be wearing, and I ordered a couple new ones that are going to get to my wife's father's house in Rochester, New York in a couple days. So I'll have a new brace and maybe I'll heal, maybe not. We'll see what happens.
Oh dear. Well, at least the poker's going well. What is going on at that house as well? Can you please explain the scenario? Because all we can hear is like people screaming, shouting, babies, dogs. What is going on there?
Sean Jeeves' house with his family, and they just had a baby named Chance actually.
Oh.
So I was excited to come here and meet him for a day, and they're having a couple of friends over, and they were exchanging. They brought a whole bunch of gifts for the baby, and the best internet spot was right next to all that, so I didn't want to disconnect again. How
does that feel, having a baby named after you?
Well, I know that he doesn't secretly hate me now, because otherwise he'd probably just get that. So it actually is kind of cool and fun, and I really enjoy it.
LA Sunset doing really well. You are second. I believe you'll still be in second place because Xuan had a really great night tonight.
Yes.
But you must be feeling pumped about that.
Yeah, it's nice to not have played in a while and come right in and nice, quick, easy victory. And yeah, I mean, it kind of played itself a lot, so that was fun.
All right. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us. Best of luck. We hope to see you here at the GPL sometime soon, and look after your foot.
Thank you, Laura. Good to see you again.
All right. Take care. That was Chance Kornuth there, taking down the last of the 6 Max matches this evening for the Americas Conference, and his team, LA Sunset. That is Maria Ho, who is the manager of that. That is what the points look like in that last match, 130. We just saw him, Kornuth taking 7 points. Xuan for the Montreal Nationals taking 5 points. What a great evening. She's had a 7-point and a 5-point with a first and second place. We saw Anton Wigg in third place for 3 points. Kevin Macphee getting unlucky there with his 10s for 2 points. Thiago Nishijima with 1 point. And Jonathan, I think that should have been Anthony Zinno for 0 points there. But unfortunately, Las Vegas Moneymakers having a really tough time at the moment. 0 points for both 6 max matches. I feel so sorry for Jonathan. I just want Jonathan to step in there and try and win some points for them, but he can't because he's here in the studio giving some expert analysis. We will see if Las Vegas Moneymakers can do any better in the heads-up matches that they're playing on Thursday evening. You need to come back here for that then. We've also got heads-up action from the Eurasian Conference tomorrow as well. Let's take a look at how the last game of the night affected the standings. We know that Montreal will still stay on top with 165 points. Xuan really doing well for Marc-Andre Ladouceur's side there. LA Sunset stay in second on 159 points, just 6 points separating first and second, which means anything can happen by the end of the week. Sao Paulo Mets are third with 130 points. We've got New York Rounders with 126 points. The San Francisco Rush stay in fifth with 118 points. And the Las Vegas Moneymakers dismally staying right down there at the bottom of the table. It's going to be really tough for them to make a playoff spot now. They are 18 points behind 5th place. Let's take a look now at the top scorers because I'm pretty sure this has changed this evening. Olivier Busquet back on top there with 56 points. I think it may be even more points now after this evening. Anatoly Filatov is also up there. We saw him in action heads up last week. Fedor Holtz, he wins everything right now. He is also with 56 points. We've got Randy Liu with 42 points. We haven't seen him in action for a while. I'm hoping to see him here sometime soon. We've got Scott Ball for the Las Vegas Moneymakers with 41 points and Felipe Ramos with 39 points. Interestingly, Scott Ball obviously has participated to a huge amount of points for the Las Vegas Moneymakers. So maybe they need him back in action because they didn't do so well this evening. We hope to see them trying to get a few more points on Thursday evening. It's been a great evening of 6 max action this evening. So thank you so much for watching at home. Thank you so much to our commentary team of Roland Boothby and of course Las Vegas Moneymaker Jonathan Little. We will see you back here tomorrow evening. We're going to be live from 6 p.m. Central European Time with some excellent heads-up matches from the Eurasian Conference.
Hello and welcome to the Global Poker League and our new strategy segment where we ask our guest pro for the week to take us through a key hand from the GPL, joined once again by Mr. Jonathan Little of the Las Vegas Moneymakers. He's going to take us through a hand involving his teammate from the Las Vegas Moneymakers, Jake Cody, and Jonathan Jaffy of the San Francisco Rush. It's a hand where we see quite a big bluff by Jake Cody.